Chapter 344. Staring at the three people in front of him, Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and took a step back. Thank the sect leader for his kindness, but there's no need. I can go on alone in this world, he said. Avoiding the three, he walked to the other side. A sword light slashed down. Muyang Feng blocked in front of him. The Wuji Peak Master's expression changed slightly. Muyang Feng, what are you doing? The sect leader has ordered that no one is allowed to touch him. Don't touch him? Muyang Feng said coldly. Do you think he'll be willing to go back with us if we don't touch him? In short, don't touch him. The Wuji Peak Master's face darkened. Lin Tianlin glanced at Muyang Feng coldly. He spread out the yin and yang puppet and rushed into the distance. Peak Master Muyang coldly snorted and blocked the front again. He slapped down with his palm. Sect Master is too benevolent. With the three of us here, how can we not keep a little sea of consciousness realm cultivator? We can just suppress him and bring him back. There's no need to invite him. With a boom, a vast palm print descended, enveloping Lin Tian within it. Stop! The Wuji Peak Master's expression changed. He blocked Muyang Feng. Muyang Feng's hand shook. He bypassed the Wuji Peak Master and tried to capture Lin Tian again. Wuji Peak Master, you're too naive and childish. To be clear, he won't be willing to go back with us. There's absolutely no chance. Even if you kneel down and beg him, it's useless. I've already said that we can just suppress him and bring him back. It'll save us time and energy. The Wuji Peak Master frowned and paused slightly. With a swoosh, Muyang Feng avoided the Wuji Peak Master and the handprint fell directly on Lin Tian. This wasn't an ordinary palm, but a powerful martial technique. Old thing, Lin Tian supported the barren heaven world, divine roar palace, and 9 springs sword to block the attack. With a boom, the giant handprint fell, slapping away the barren heaven realm, the divine roar palace, and the Jiuquan sword. At the same time, Lin Tian staggered backwards. He felt a tightness in his chest, and blood gushed up to his throat. At the same time, his internal organs convulsed. Facing a powerhouse of the 9th heaven of the Zephyr realm, the current him was indeed too weak. Come with us obediently. Otherwise, we'll chop off your limbs and bring you back, Muyang Feng said coldly. The Wuji Peak Master frowned, and his expression darkened. Master Muyang Feng, you are too reckless. Wuji Peak Master, please calm down. I feel that what Master Muyang Feng said makes sense. At this moment, the Peak Lord of Fallen Shadow, Peak stepped forward and said in a deep voice, based on this person's personality, no matter what we do, he won't follow us back to cultivate. As for that technique, therefore it is best to suppress him and bring him back. No! The sect leader had given the order to not act recklessly. We can only use the word please. The Wuji Peak Master said. Boom! Right at this moment, Peak Master Muyang had already charged out again. He had actually executed the Tomb Fall Celestial Light Divine ability. Suddenly, a faint blue divine light appeared and pressed towards Lin Tian. This is enough to suppress him. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. The same technique, but when Muyang Feng used it, it was much stronger than Zheng Ye's. He stepped on the yin and yang hua and retreated. With a light flick of his finger, the first layer of the 4 symbols Dao diagram flew out directly. The Dao diagram collided with the Tombfall Immortal Light, but this time, it was useless. In the blink of an eye, the Dao diagram of the 4 symbols Dao diagram shattered with a crack. Although the technique is extraordinary, it is a pity that you are too weak, Muyang Feng said. Lin Tian retreated again. He gritted his teeth and quickly formed a seal with his hands. Right now, you are only in the sea of consciousness realm. Facing me, what can you do? It is useless no matter what you do, Muyang Feng said. Lin Tian did not say anything. His expression did not change, but his hands moved even harder and faster. A stone platform and a stone wall rushed out from behind him. There were many black and white 3-leaf clovers on the edge of the stone platform. There was a line of ancient words engraved on the stone wall. especially after the line of ancient words. The two-seal script shone brightly, revealing the Tao benevolence, holy light. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying aura overflowed, causing the surrounding space to be oppressed. At this moment, he used the divining divine technique to derive the place where Heavenly Lord Tao benevolence comprehended the Tao. Suddenly, the Tao light overflowed. Qi! Muyang Feng's tuneful, immortal light trembled violently, and in the next moment, it was annihilated. Then, the terrifying aura pressed down, and suddenly, Muyang Feng was forced to retreat. Not far away, the Wuji Peak Master and Luoying Peak Master's expressions changed. A mere sea of consciousness 8th celestial layer cultivator had actually shattered the divine ability of a 9th celestial layer Zephyr cultivator and forced him to retreat. Such a thing had never happened in the history of cultivation. Cough! On the other side, Lin Tian spat out blood and flew back 10 feet away. He glanced coldly at Muyang Feng. Without stopping, he stepped on the yin-yang puppet and went away. You still want to leave? You can't leave, Muyang Feng said coldly. At this moment, Peak Master Muyang was both shocked and furious. He was an expert at the peak of the Zephyr realm, but he was actually dispelled by a little cultivator at the 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness and forced to retreat a few steps. This was simply a great humiliation. With a boom, an even more terrifying aura rushed out of his body. More dense tuneful, immortal light propped up, cracking the ground a little. Muyang Feng took a step forward and directly approached Lin Tian. Enough, Muyang Feng. You are too presumptuous. The Wuji Peak Master blocked in front. A strong wave of true essence rushed out. The Wuji Peak Master blocked Muyang Feng with a cold face. In the distance, Lin Tian looked back and instantly went away. In the next few days, he killed one powerful individual cultivator after another who came to steal the precious technique. He avoided the elders of the 9 great sects and broke free from the pursuers of the Bai family and the Shin family. Finally, he found an absolutely hidden place and hid. One against the world, very good. This way, it can stimulate my potential even more. There was blood at the corner of his mouth and on his body, but his face was extremely cold. Closing his eyes, he took out a baodan and swallowed it. Then he began to use the 4 extremities scripture to heal his injured body. Although Lin Tian had snuck down, there were still many people searching for him in the outside world. There were people from the ancient Bai clan, the alchemist Shun clan, the 10 great sects, and even some ordinary unaffiliated cultivators. However, none of these people could find any traces of Lin Tian. In the end, the experts from the Bai clan returned to their clans, the experts from the Shin clan returned to their clans, and the elders from the 10 great sects also returned to their clans. Wuji Gate, Wuji Hall, how dare you? The sect master of the Wuji sect stared at Muyang Feng with a cold face. Muyang Feng's face was slightly pale. He said, Sect master, how can we ask him to come back? Also, if he really found the divining divine skill, we must bring him back. If he doesn't want to come back, we can only do it. Shut up. I know you have a grudge against him because your disciple was suppressed, but I didn't expect you to be so reckless. I've already said that no one is allowed to do anything to him. We can only ask him to come back. The sect master of the Wuji sect stared at Muyang Feng and said coldly, Go back to your main peak. You are not allowed to step out of Muyang Feng for 3 months. Muyang Feng's face was ugly, but he did not dare to say anything. He could only leave resentfully. Seeing Muyang Feng leave, the sect master of the Wuji sect sighed and turned to look at the fallen celestial peak. Sect master, I'm sorry that I couldn't bring Lin Tian back. The sect master of the Wuji peak said. The sect master of the Wuji sect waved his hand. The technique he used that day was definitely the divining divine skill. Only this legendary battle saint technique can allow him to fight across 4 or 5 small realms. Rumor has it that the divining divine skill was created by Lord Daoran. Lord Daoran is a righteous person. If he can find this precious technique, it shows that his character and talent are excellent. If such a young man like him could stay in the sect and cultivate, he would definitely become a pillar of the sect. In the future, it would be extremely likely for my limitless immortal school to shine brightly and become stronger. Unfortunately, such an outstanding person like him was missed because of my mistake. Sect Master, you don't have to blame yourself. You didn't protect him for the past 2 times because of Wuji Gate. We can forget about the matter of the 9 great sects. But the ancient Bai family came to the sect to ask for him. What can you do? The peak master of the Wuji sect said. The sect master of the Wuji sect waved his hand and looked at the fallen immortal peak. He sighed slightly. A mistake is a mistake. He was right before. As the sect master of Wuji Gate, I didn't protect my disciple when I knew he didn't do anything wrong. Instead, I let people from other forces take him away. I'm not a qualified sect master. The peak master of the Wuji sect stood quietly on the side and followed the sect master's gaze. Techniques are important, but people are even more important. It doesn't matter if we can't obtain the Heaven's Divination Divine technique. This treasure technique has been silent in my limitless immortal school for so long, yet no one has been able to find it. This also means that this technique is not fated with my limitless immortal school. The sect master of the Wuji sect said with deep eyes, "Pass down my order. From now on, no disciple of the Wuji sect is allowed to touch him. If possible, help him secretly when appropriate." Yes, sect master. The peak master of the Wuji sect nodded. The ancient Bai family, the door of a hall was pushed open. Bai Qiu, dressed in purple, barged in angrily. "If you send more experts to deal with him, I'll die here." The aura of Yin surrounded Bai Qiu. Bai Qiu held a dagger and aimed it at her neck. There were 3 elders in the hall. When they saw this scene, they were all shocked. "Little ancestor, what are you doing? Put the dagger away. It'll be terrible if you touch it." An old woman hurried forward. This old woman was very powerful. She was at the connecting immortal realm, but at this moment, she was anxious. "Stop!" Bai Qiu pointed at the old woman. During this period, she had received several pieces of news. The Bai family's experts were attacking Lin Tian. The 10 great sects experts were chasing after Lin Tian, and the alchemist family Shun family was attacking him. Bai Qiu had cried several times and finally came here. She knew that she was the main reason for all of this. How could she not be sad? Over and over again. How can you do this? How can you treat him like this? What's the difference between you and a hooligan? Bai Qiu glared at the 3 of them, tears welling up in her eyes. The 3 of them stopped in their tracks. Their expressions were somewhat ugly because they were indeed unreasonable in this matter. In the end, one of them gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, we won't send any more experts to deal with him. However, he killed more than 30 members of our Bai family. I'm afraid we can't let this matter go so easily. Soon, the young experts of this generation of my Bai family will go out to train. This grudge will be settled by those of the same generation." Bai Qiu shook her head. "No, he's only—" At that moment, someone appeared beside Bai Qiu. Bai Ziki flashed and snatched the dagger from her hand. Then, Bai Ziki did not say anything and pulled Bai Qiu out. "Let go of me!" Bai Qiu shouted outside the hall. "This result is more or less enough," Bai Ziki said. "Big brother." Bai Qiu was anxious. "There are a few people in our family who are not much weaker than you. How can you be a match for them?" "That's his problem." Bai Ziki frowned and said, "Also, your lunar origin has been fluctuating too frequently and chaotically during this period. Don't cultivate for the time being." As he spoke, he did not give Bai Qiu a chance to react. He directly used the secret technique of the Divine Sutra and completely sealed Bai Qiu's true essence. Then, he dragged her into the depths of the Bai family. The alchemist family, the Shun family, the middle-aged man in green returned to the family and summoned the other elders of the family. They were all above the 7th heaven of the levitating realm. "How is it?" one of them asked. "That's right. He does have the legendary flame seal. However, it has completely disappeared," the middle-aged man in green said. "Come to think of it, in the near future, all the major forces will send their disciples out to gain experience. My Shin family is no exception." Another person said, "After that, Let the disciples out to train pay close attention to Lin Tian's movements. As you said, this person is not simple. He's very important to the Shun family. On this day, all the major factions were moved and made different responses. A few more days passed. Young talents walked out of their sects and families and walked toward the vast second heaven. In a hidden cave in the old forest, Lin Tian focused on cultivating. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. In half a month, relying on the divine refining runes, his cultivation had improved a lot. He was about to reach the peak of the eighth heaven of the Sea of Consciousness. Because of the continuous clashes with airborne realm experts, his combat ability and combat experience had improved a lot after digesting them. His overall combat strength had improved a lot compared to before. It's hard to improve in a short time. It's time to go out, he muttered to himself. I equals FIPS, LAS equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 345. Reading on mobile phone after leaving the hidden cave in the old forest. Lin Tian put on a black robe that covered his entire body and face. Booknet. His current identity was very sensitive. Before his cultivation reached the Zephyr realm, it would be good for him to cover up a little. After walking out of the old forest, there was a wide road in front of him. Let's go. Those young talents are all gathered there. It should be quite lively. Of course. After all, it's hosted by the young talents of the Bai family. There are also geniuses from the other major sections. There were many cultivators on the road, and they were all heading in one direction. Lin Tian tilted his head and narrowed his eyes. That was the Daluo Mountain Forest. He stopped the cultivator and asked, Brother, are you all heading to the Daluo Mountain Forest? Is there something interesting going on? Seeing Lin Tian's black robe that covered even his face, the cultivator frowned slightly, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. After all, there were too many cultivators in the world, and some of them had strange habits. Not long ago, the young talents of the major sects came out to train. The Bai family initiated an alliance, and the 9 major sects responded. They all gathered in the Daluo Mountain Forest to find and suppress a person called Lin Tian. It's said that he has mastered the art of weapon manipulation. Most importantly, he offended the Bai family and the 9 major sects. I see. Lin Tian nodded, then asked, but why the 9 major sects? Aren't they the 10 major sects? That Lin Tian used to be a disciple of the Wuji Gate. It's said that the master of Wuji Gate gave an order to no longer interfere with Lin Tian's affairs and forbade any disciples from taking action against Lin Tian. The cultivator said. Lin Tian nodded and thanked him. The cultivator quickly walked away and jogged toward the Daluo Mountain Forest. Under the black robe, Lin Tian's eyes flickered. Limitless Sect Master. When he was at Wuji Gate, he did not make any mistakes. However, the Limitless Sect leader did not protect him and allowed the outsiders to take him away. To be honest, even though he did not feel good about it, he did not blame the Limitless Sect leader. After all, he was in a certain position, and the Limitless Sect leader had to make a choice. Now, he had escaped from Wuji Gate with the divining divine technique, and the Limitless Sect Master naturally knew about it. Under the situation where he had become the enemy of the entire world, the Limitless Sect Master still gave such an order, which made him feel emotional. This could be considered a kind of magnanimity. Sighing slightly, he looked in the direction of the Daluo forest again, his eyes turning cold. Pausing for a moment, he strode toward the Daluo Mountain Forest. In the Daluo Mountain Forest, an old tree stood tall and strong. At this moment, many cultivators had gathered around and were discussing spiritedly. In front of them was an open space, and the ground was stained with blood. 3 young men in purple stood together. All of them were extremely handsome, and their clothes and faces were bright and fresh. They were surrounded by a group of people. They were from the Bai family. Lin Tian arrived. Wearing a black robe, he stared at the 3 of them and stood quietly in the crowd. Everyone, do you know who the blood and bones on the ground belong to? A person from the Bai family asked. That person was called Bai Yu. He was extremely powerful and was at the first level of the Zephyr flight. Of course, there's the blood of our elders, senior brothers, and junior brothers. They all died in the hands of that thief. How could we forget such a thing? A person from the 9 great sects said. That's right. Our senior brothers and elders were all killed by him. That thief is cruel and can't be left alive. We have to surround and kill him. Another person from the Bai family said. That person was called Bai Hung. He was also at the first level of the Zephyr flight and was very powerful. Kill him. We'll follow the orders of the 3 young masters of the Bai family. We have no objections. We'll definitely kill him. The people from the 9 great sects shouted. In fact, some powerful itinerant cultivators even joined in and formed several teams to chase after Lin Tian. The 3 people from the Bai family nodded. The last person to speak was called Bai Chiha. He said loudly, in that case, we'll join forces and suppress that thief. We'll avenge the seniors and clansmen who died in his hands. Only then can we let the seniors and clansmen who died in this forest rest in peace. Their souls will ascend to heaven. Avenge! 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 Everyone responded. In the crowd, Lin Tiantan smiled coldly. It had to be said that the 3 people from the Bai family chose this Daluo mountain forest and used the blood and bones on the ground to incite the crowd. The effect was really good. Using this place and saying such words, it made it seem like he was really a heinous person. He was wrapped in a black robe, so his face couldn't be seen. He said, the 3 of you from the Bai family, the words avenge don't seem to be appropriate. As far as I know, it was your Bai family who chased after Lin Tian for no reason. The other sects and itinerant cultivators wanted to steal his precious technique, but they were killed instead. This seems to be your own fault. How can you talk about avenge? As soon as he said this, the crowd suddenly became quiet. Then, they all became angry. Who are you? What nonsense are you talking about? You're speaking for that thief? You're talking nonsense. Someone reprimanded. Nonsense? Under the black robe, Lin Tianyi smiled and said, why don't you gather here to suppress that person? Don't you want to steal his weapon-controlling technique? Also, you itinerant cultivators, what grudge do you have against Lin Tian? If you don't covet that precious technique, why would you gather here to deal with Lin Tian? The people from the 9 sects were angry and stared at Lin Tian. Some itinerant cultivators' faces were ashen. We gathered here for the sake of righteousness. How can we be humiliated by you? Righteousness? Lin Tian mocked. You're really noble. In the Daluo mountain forest, some people who came to watch the show had strange expressions as they stared at the black-robed Lin Tian. Who's this guy? The Bai family initiated this alliance, and the 9 sects and itinerant cultivators responded to deal with Lin Tian together. This guy actually said something here. Isn't he asking for a rebuff? Many people were discussing. Bai Yu raised his hand and suppressed the crowd's voices. He looked over and said, Friend, you must have evidence to back up your words. Lin Tian once flirted with the princess of my Bai clan. Moreover, he even killed a few geniuses from the 9 great sects before this. There are many blood debts on his body, which is why my Bai clan and the 9 great sects are hunting him down. How could we possibly covet his treasured technique? That's right. You're right, young Master Bai Yu. How can such a pervert be allowed to live? Many people shouted. Under the black robe, Lin Tian sneered. Young Master Bai, why are you so different from what I've heard? As far as I know, Lin Tian never flirted with the princess of your family. On the contrary, it was your princess who always clung to him. As for your so-called killing of several talents of the 9 sects, it seems that those talents wanted to kill your princess and Lin Tian to steal the precious technique. That's why Lin Tian counterattacked and killed those people. Speaking of which, Lin Tian can be considered as protecting your princess, right? As soon as Lin Tian said that, Bai Yu and the rest of the 9 sects' expressions changed slightly. Their expressions froze. Is there such a thing? The 9 sects once wanted to kill the princess of the Bai family, and Lin Tian stood up to protect her. Now, the Bai family and the 9 sects are working together to deal with Lin Tian. If this is true, it's really a little outside the circle. Many people were surprised. If this was true, wouldn't it be a little ridiculous for the Bai family and the 9 sects to work together to deal with Lin Tian? It could even be called a joke. Nonsense. My friend, Hearsay can't be trusted after all. What you said is not acceptable. A voice sounded, and someone stood out. Seeing this person, Baiyu smiled faintly and nodded. So it's Brother Zheng Yi from Wuji Gate. Master Baiyu. Zheng Yi returned the greeting. Hearing Zheng Ye's words, the crowd all turned their heads to look at Lin Tian, who was covered in a black robe. These people were not interested in the precious technique. They just came here to watch the fun. Now that they heard several different voices, it naturally aroused their curiosity. Under the black robe, Lin Tiandao said, Zheng Yi from Wuji Gate, everyone in the world knows that the master of Wuji Gate has ordered that no one is allowed to attack Lin Tian. As a disciple of the Limitless sect, you came here. Isn't that a blatant violation of the master's order? Not to mention the punishment from the master later. Isn't it a little disgraceful for you to do this? Yes. Didn't the master of the Limitless sect order that no one is allowed to attack Lin Tian? This Zheng Yi, Some people pointed at him. Zheng Ye's expression did not change. He said, the master is generous and benevolent. Considering that the thief used to cultivate in the sect, he did not argue with him. However, if such a thief lives, it will be a disgrace to our Wuji Gate. The master is kind, but there will be people in the sect who will care. I came here on the order of my master. After killing this thief, I will go back to the sect to apologize. I have no regrets. So he came here on the master's order. In that case, this Zheng Yi can't be considered to have committed treason. Yes, that's right. Some people nodded. Under the black robe, Lin Tian Lung smiled. On the master's order? It was Muyang Feng, that old thing again. Zheng Yi opened his mouth again and looked at the crowd. What Master Baiyu said is true. In the sect, Lin Tian was arrogant and domineering. He bullied and humiliated his fellow disciples. He even forcefully held the hand of the princess of the Bai family several times and openly flirted with her. In order to fight for the Baodan, that thief ruthlessly killed several outstanding disciples of the 9 sections. These are indisputable facts. Hearing this, the crowd was in an uproar again. Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning when you talk nonsense with your eyes wide open? Under the black robe, Lin Tian laughed out loud. What I said is not a lie. How can I talk nonsense with my eyes wide open? Zheng Yi stared at Lin Tian coldly and said, You just heard it and believed it. I am a disciple of the Wuji Gate. I was Lin Tian's fellow disciple. You heard about him. Do you think you know more about him than I do? Well, indeed, Zheng Yi was Lin Tian's fellow disciple. What he said is indeed more convincing. If that's the case, then that Lin Tian really is, some people frowned. The 3 people of the Bai family smiled at Zheng Yi. Zheng Yi returned the gesture. What else do you have to say? Zheng Yi looked at Lin Tian, who was wearing a black robe. Under the black robe, Lin Tiandao said, Do you think you and Lin Tian used to be fellow disciples, so you know most about him? Zheng Ye's expression was indifferent. At least in this place, no one knows more about him than I do. Is that so? Lin Tian Lung smiled and said sarcastically, Then open your dog eyes and look carefully. Let's see who knows more about Lin Tian here, you or me. As he spoke, he lifted the black robe and revealed his true face. I equals Phipps, las equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 346. Reading on a mobile phone. Seeing Lin Tian's face under the black robe, Zheng Ye's expression changed drastically. It's you! At the same time, everyone else was shocked. This is that Lin Tian? He actually came here? The onlookers' expressions changed. The Bai family had organized this alliance and gathered all the experts of the same generation to deal with Lin Tian. But now, the main character had come here alone. This caused all the cultivators who had come to watch the show to be shocked. Wasn't this too daring? With a series of rustling sounds, the 9 sects and the 3 people of the Bai family all moved and surrounded Lin Tian. How dare you come here? The 3 people of the Bai family sneered. The world is so big. How many places do I dare not go? Are you looking for me? I'll come to you myself. Lin Tian's expression was calm, and he didn't care about the 3 people of the Bai family at all. He stared at Zheng Yi mockingly. Tell me, between the 2 of us, Who knows more about Lin Tian? You or I know more about Lin Tian? Zheng Ye's face was gloomy, and he couldn't say anything. Muyang Feng's disciples thought they were invincible and came to make trouble for me. After they were defeated, I bullied my fellow disciples. The princess of the Bai family often came to me, and I flirted with her. Are you blind, or can't you see clearly? Did I kill a few disciples of the 9 sects in order to seize the treasure? When the elders of the 9 sects came to make trouble for me, the princess of the Bai family showed them the divine token and told them the details. Don't you know that the elders of the 9 sects knelt down and begged for my forgiveness? Staring at Zheng Yi, Lin Tian spoke calmly, but his eyes were sharp. What? The elders of the 9 sects knelt down and begged for Lin Tian's forgiveness. It sounds like the princess of the Bai family is close to Lin Tian, isn't she? How could the people of the Bai family? The crowd discussed animatedly. Nonsense. A disciple from the 9 great sects opened his mouth and shouted angrily. Who do you think you are? How dare you humiliate the elders of our great sects? Our cultivation is profound. Why would we kneel before a nobody like you? Lin Tian tilted his head and stared at this person. He directly waved his sword. With a poof, blood splattered everywhere. The disciple's chest was penetrated, and he fell into a pool of blood on the spot. Hiss! Many of the onlookers sucked in a breath of cold air. This in the middle of a group of powerful enemies. He actually dared to directly kill. Why kneel? Because it makes sense, and because the princess of the Bai family is on my side. Lin Tian mockingly glanced at the cultivators of the 9 great sects and the rogue cultivators who had gathered to fight against him. What are you when facing the Bai family? What kind of attitude could he have? At most, it thinks of itself as a dog. Other than wagging its tail to please, what else can it do? Everyone was enraged. Nonsense. Trying to sow discord. What kind of status does the princess of my clan have? How could she possibly stand on your side? Why would I protect you? Bai Yu shouted. Lin Tian smiled disdainfully and looked at Zheng Yi. Senior brother Zheng, tell me, is what I said true or false? He enunciated the words, Senior Brother Zheng, particularly loudly, causing Zheng Ye's face to turn a little pale. The crowd stared at Zheng Ye's expression, and all of them were moved. It seems that Lin Tian is telling the truth. Someone muttered. These people were not stupid. From Lin Tian's attitude and Zheng Ye's expression, it was enough to tell who was telling the truth. A cold light flashed in by Heng's eyes. There's no need to say anything more to this thief. Everyone attack and suppress him together. That's right. There's no need to talk nonsense with this evil thief. Kill him. Attack. Attack together. Everyone shouted. Instantly, everyone pressed down on Lin Tian. The light of martial arts swept across all directions. There were more than 200 people gathered here. At this moment, more than 100 of them attacked together. The power was truly terrifying. Lin Tian Lung smiled, not caring at all. How dare you bunch of third-rate trash gather here and try to kill me? With a clang, a high-grade supreme treasure appeared in his hand. The 7th sword of the 9 forms of the burning sun swept out and swept in all directions. Puff! 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 Blood splattered. In the blink of an eye, a large number of cultivators died. Oh my God! The power of one sword can be so powerful? So powerful. Some of the onlookers' hearts palpitated. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He walked calmly toward Zheng Yi. The Limitless Sect Master has ordered that no one in the sect is allowed to attack me. You and your master are really active. When he let you out to die, did he ask you to leave any last words? Zheng Ye's face was pale. He gritted his teeth and said, Lin Tian, don't be too arrogant. You're just in the sea of consciousness realm. With a boom, a faint blue light rushed up. At this moment, Zheng Yi directly used Muyang Feng's Tombfall Immortal Light Theurgy. When I was in the 6th level of the sea of consciousness realm, you were no match for me. Now, what can you do with this theurgy? Lin Tian Lung smiled. He bent his finger and flicked it. The 4 symbols Dao diagram gathered and directly annihilated all of Zheng Ye's theurgy light. Then he stepped on the yin and yang rock and moved in front of Zheng Yi in an instant. You bang! Lin Tian swung his fist and directly sent Zheng Yi flying. Zheng Yi's chest caved in on the spot, and he let out a scream. Brother Zheng! Bai Yu's expression changed. He stepped forward and waved a big handprint to press down on Lin Tian. It was the godless palm of the Godless Sutra. Boom! The godless palm swung down, and the entire space shook. They were both in the first level of the Zephyr realm, but it had to be said that Bai Yu's strength was several times stronger than Zheng Yi's. He was even stronger than some cultivators in the second level of the Zephyr realm. When this palm pressed down, many onlookers were shocked. Lin Tian stepped back and used the divination divine technique. He activated the same godless palm, and a series of handprints directly slapped forward. This is the godless palm? How is it possible? How can he also use the godless palm? Isn't this the Bai family's secret technique? Many people's expressions changed. Lin Tian's godless palm collided with Bai Yu's godless palm. With a boom, the space shook violently. Damn it, where did you learn the godless palm? The three Bai family members were shocked and angry. The three of them used their movement techniques and directly rushed toward Lin Tian. Get out of here. I'll deal with you later, Lin Tianlong said. With a boom, he activated the 8th Sword of the Burning Sun and directly forced the three of them to retreat. After that, he stepped forward and appeared in front of Zheng Yi again. I'll send you on your way, he said coldly, using the divination divine technique to create the barren heaven realm and mercilessly press down. Zheng Yi's expression changed drastically. He had seen the power of this king's territory before, so he immediately activated the heavenly light divine ability with all his strength. However, such a divine ability could not block the divination divine technique. Zheng Yi coughed out blood and flew more than 10 meters away. Half of his body was badly mutilated. Lin Tian raised his leg and approached again. With a thought, the barren heaven realm directly pressed down. The ancient mountain fell, and the roar of wild beasts came from it, which immediately made Zheng Yi's expression change. No! Stop! Don't worry. You won't be lonely on the road to the netherworld. It won't be long before I send your master down to accompany you. Lin Tianlong. The barren heaven realm mercilessly pressed down, directly crushing Zheng Yi into pieces. Zheng Yi of the Wuji Gate, an early-stage void flight realm cultivator, was killed so easily? Oh my god, what kind of combat power is this? He's only at the spiritual sense level. This is too unbelievable. Many cultivators were shocked. Seeing this scene, the young people of the 9 sects who were gathered here also changed their expressions. Everyone, let's attack together. Don't let him defeat us one by one, Bai Yu shouted. That's right. Although he's powerful, we have more people. If we work together, we can defeat him. Kill! Everyone roared. Instantly, saber lights and sword shadows appeared as the 200-plus people charged towards Lin Tian in unison. Do you really think that ants can kill an elephant? Lin Tianling smiled. With a clang, dozens of treasure weapons appeared around him, all of them flying and slashing in all directions. Weapon control technique. The disciples of the 9 sects gathered here were almost all at the 6th to 9th level of the spiritual sense level. How could they resist Lin Tian's weapon control technique? In the blink of an eye, a large number of cultivators fell into a pool of blood. More than 200 people were killed in a few seconds, and the ground was dyed red with blood. How could this be? We can't win this. It's impossible to win. If this goes on, we'll all be killed. Everyone was terrified. In the next moment, some rogue cultivators retreated and fled into the distance. Clang! A sword radiance fell and cut off that person's head. Lin Tian used his weapon control technique. Dozens of treasure weapons appeared in the air and surrounded the remaining people. Since you're gathered here to kill me, you should show some respect. What's the point of running away now? He said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, he used the divination divine skill to shake the barren heaven realm. Gray mist sputtered in all directions. blood mist exploded. Facing the barren heaven realm that he created with the divination divine skill, these ordinary cultivators were no match for him. Fellow cultivator Lin, we were wrong. Please let us go. We were blinded by greed and wanted to fight for the treasure skills. We won't do it again. Please forgive us. Fellow cultivator Lin, please be merciful. Please don't kill us. Some rogue cultivators begged for mercy. Lin Tianling smiled. The barren heaven realm shook again, and more killing light fell. These people did not have the slightest grudge against him, yet they gathered together to kill him and steal his precious technique. Thus, how could he show them any mercy? Those who wanted to kill would always be killed. This was his philosophy. He would never be a saint for nothing. Blood mist exploded again and again, falling to the ground. Lin Tian attacked mercilessly. Wherever the light of the barren heaven realm passed, no one could stop it. Anyone who was touched by it would die a tragic death. During this time, screams continued. More and more people fled. Some disciples of the large sects even ran away in fear. Unfortunately, none of them succeeded. They were all killed by the dozens of treasure weapons floating in the air. No, don't kill me. Lin Tian, you're a demon? Ah, no. Screams rose and fell. Blood splattered again and again. The number of corpses increased. In the distance, many onlookers were terrified. Some even couldn't help but tremble. This scene was like purgatory. Soon, 15 minutes passed. The screams finally weakened and then disappeared completely. Looking around, dozens of treasure weapons were floating in the air. The ground was full of broken corpses. Blood dyed the ground red. It was a glaring and shocking sight. More than 100 disciples of the large sects and nearly 100 rogue cultivators, all dead. Only the 3 from the Bai family are left. So many people gathered together, but none of them could stop him. It's only been 15 minutes. In the distance, many onlookers retreated. They felt like their hearts were about to jump out. In the forest, Lin Tian's clothes were not stained with blood. He looked at Bai Yu and the others. Now it's your turn. There are some things I want to know from you. I equals FIPS, LAS equals AGS. Chapter 347. Reading on a mobile phone. Facing Lin Tiantan's cold gaze, Bai Yu and the other 2 couldn't help but tremble. Their faces were ashen and ugly. Please search Taste Book Yin Network to see the most complete. In the novel, they had gathered all the major sects here in the name of the Bai family to search for and kill Lin Tian. Now, the real person had found them and killed all of them in just a few minutes. Blood flowed all over the ground. This made their backs turn cold. This was a devil. Let's go, Bai Yu said in a low voice. The 3 of them knew that they were no match for Lin Tian, so they didn't stay to fight. They turned and fled. Lin Tian's expression was calm. The precious weapons in the air slashed down, forcing the 3 of them to retreat. The Bai family has been passed down since the ancient times. Do you only know how to run? He said indifferently. The 3 of them were furious. Bai Heng said in a low voice, Lin Tian, don't be so smug. The truly powerful people of the Bai family haven't come out yet. When they come out, killing you will be as easy as crushing an ant. Is that so? I'll wait. Lin Tiandao. With a clang, the 3 precious weapons slashed down. They shone brightly and cut off Bai Heng's head. Seeing this bloody scene, a group of onlookers nearby felt as if ice had formed on their backs. That's the Bai family, a transcendent force that has been passed down since the ancient times. They've looked down on this heavenly region for so many years. He killed the Bai family's elites without hesitation. This is crazy. Someone's heart palpitated. Bai Yu and Bai Chiha gritted their teeth. Their clansmen were killed. The 2 of them roared in unison and used their secret skills. Kill! Kill! The 2 of them roared. They knew that they couldn't escape, so they pressed their palms toward Lin Tian and fought to the death. Lin Tian shook his head. The barren heaven world passed over his head, crushing their palms and crushing Bai Chiha into pieces. In the blink of an eye, Only Baiyu was left of the three. Damn it! There was blood in Baiyu's mouth. He stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. Lin Tian raised his hand, using divining divine art to evolve a supreme divine palm, directly slapping Baiyu to the ground. Your Bai clan is such a large clan, so you should have a lot of strongholds in the outside world. Where are they? He asked. Baiyu was shocked. What do you want to do? I don't like to be passive. Your Bai family has tried to kill me time and time again for no reason. I have to give you a little surprise. Otherwise, your Bai family will really think that I'm easy to bully. You want to break into my Bai family's outpost? Baiyu sneered. With a slap, Lin Tian slapped Baiyu. Put away your sneer and stop talking nonsense. Blood flowed from the corner of Baiyu's mouth as he glared hatefully at Lin Tian. He named 3 places: Vast Heaven District, Hangzhou Origin, and Yin Square. So straightforward? Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. Baiyu stared at Lin Tian with a strange and livid expression. Doesn't everyone know that the Bai family has strongholds in these 3 places? Doesn't he know? That's strange. Not far away, many people stared at Lin Tian in surprise. Lin Tian naturally heard these people's discussions. He was slightly embarrassed. He came from the first layer of the celestial realm, so he didn't know much about these things. This made him slightly displeased, but he didn't say anything and directly killed Baiyu. He stood up and clapped his hands. He stared at the crowd of onlookers in the distance and walked toward them. Swoosh! All of a sudden, the crowd dispersed in unison. Lin Tian stepped on the yin-yang puppet and caught up with a person, grabbing his shoulder. This was a young man in yellow. His face was pale with fear, and his whole body was trembling. Big brother, spare me. I'm just here to watch the show. I don't want to steal your paragon skill, let alone kill you. You can't kill innocent people. Lin Tian was speechless. I just want to ask about the Vast Heaven District, Hangzhou Origin, and Yin Square. I mean no harm, he said. Really? Really? Only then did the young man in yellow let out a sigh of relief. However, he was still a little fearful as he said, Vast Heaven District, Hangzhou Origin, and Yin Square. These 3 places are the most famous gathering places of cultivators in this heaven region. There are treasure auction sites, transaction pavilions, and even some wine pavilions where beautiful fairies are hidden. There are people from various great sects and sacred grounds who are overseeing these 3 places. They set up different transaction pavilions, either to collect wealth and resources or to collect all kinds of information. These 3 places have strongholds of the Bai family. What's the cultivation level of the strongest person in these 3 places? Lin Tian asked. The peak of the Zephyr Realm. The peak of the Zephyr Realm? Lin Tian whispered and nodded to the young man in yellow. Thank you. With that, he turned and walked away, disappearing quickly. Only now did the yellow-clothed young man completely heave a sigh of relief, and then he went limp like mud. In the distance, some onlookers did not go far. At this moment, they stared at Lin Tian's retreating figure and the bloody scene in front of them. Their hearts were palpitating. This is really... Many people swallowed their saliva. Soon after, news spread. By family's young generations, 3 heroes gathered the 9 great sex experts and a group of loose cultivators, wishing to find and kill Lin Tian. However, the main character directly found them, slaughtering everyone. This made even more cultivators shocked. By family's heroes organized a gathering to search for a single person. Yet the main character actually found them, killing everyone. There were some who were suspicious, personally heading to Great Immortal Mountain Range. However, they directly sucked in a cold breath of air. It's actually true. That guy is too ruthless. He killed more than 200 people, including the 3 heroes of the Bai family. He didn't show any mercy at all. Everyone was shocked. Then, the young experts of the Bai family rushed to the Daoyuo mountain range. When they saw the corpses of Baiyu and the other 2, their faces turned cold and murderous. Find him and kill him, someone shouted. It sounded like the clanging of a precious weapon. The itinerant cultivators and disciples of small sects who came to watch were shocked. After leaving the Daluo mountain range, Lin Tian walked far away and entered another mountain range, the peak of the Zephyr realm. I'm definitely no match for him now. I'll try that thing. It should work wonders, he muttered to himself. After finding a secluded place, he took out a black cauldron and began to cultivate his alchemy skills. There was a kind of pill in the pharmacopoeia called the energy sealing pill. After shattering one's true origin, it could be vaporized. It was colorless and tasteless, and it could be easily mixed with air and inhaled. Once it was inhaled, it would cause the true origin to become chaotic and even solidify for a certain period of time. When facing an enemy in such a situation, the result could be imagined. The energy sealing pill can only be refined when one is at least a third-grade alchemist. I should be able to reach that level in 7 days. Lin Tian muttered to himself. His cultivation was not weak, and he was about to reach the airborne realm. Moreover, his formation control technique was about to reach the 5th grade. As such, his starting point for alchemy was far higher than that of ordinary alchemists. It was like someone in the chaotic realm learning a profound martial technique. It would not take much time at all, and he could do it with a wave of his hand. After taking out the black cauldron and taking a deep breath, Lin Tian began to refine his alchemy skills. There was no such thing as the Tianyi Soul technique on the path of alchemy. It was completely dependent on one's talent and countless refinements to become familiar with it. Before leaving the Wuji Gate, Lin Tian had exchanged a lot of materials for alchemy and formation control technique. Therefore, he was not worried about running out of materials. Boom! He raised his right hand and placed it on the furnace. His true origin surged, and soon, a yellow alchemy fire appeared on the furnace. Yellow alchemy fire was the lowest level of alchemy fire, and it was the first stage. Lin Tianyi converted his true origin into alchemy fire while circulating the 4 extreme scripture to restore his true origin. He repeatedly practiced alchemy. This kind of practice was undeniably boring. However, Lin Tian did not find it boring because this kind of practice was useful to him. The alchemy fire lingered, and day alternated. Soon 6 days passed. Lin Tian sat in front of the black cauldron and stretched out his right hand again. His true origin surged, and a purple flame appeared in the cauldron. Purple alchemy fire, the 2nd stage of alchemy fire. During the 6 days, Lin Tian rested for a total of 12 hours. The rest of the time was spent on alchemy. After these 6 days, he finally reached the level of a 3rd-grade alchemist. Under the surging of his true origin, he could activate a purple alchemy fire. Time to refine the energy sealing pill, he muttered to himself. The energy sealing pill was a 4th-grade inferior Baodan. Originally, one needed to reach the level of a 4th-grade alchemist to refine a perfect pill. However, Lin Tian had absolute confidence in his control. He had reached the level of a 3rd-grade alchemist. Although it was impossible for him to refine a perfect energy sealing pill, he could rely on quantity to stack it up. Without further ado, Lin Tian took out the alchemy materials from the stone ring, activated the purple alchemy fire, and began to refine the energy sealing pill. Buzz! The purple alchemy fire lingered. It was somewhat gorgeous and somewhat magical. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. During these 3 days, Lin Tian failed several times at first. It was not until later that he slowly grasped the technique. The purple alchemy fire was neither hot nor hot, and it changed at a fixed point that he successfully refined the energy sealing pill. Of course, the vitality sealing pill he concocted was far from perfect. Therefore, he used up all the ingredients he had and concocted a total of 30 vitality sealing pills. He refined the 30 energy sealing pills a total of 14 times. At most, he could refine 3 pills each time. Occasionally, he could only refine 1. 3 days later, Lin Tian rested for 6 hours and finally stood up. It's time. A glimmer of light flashed across his eyes, and he walked into the distance. 10 days ago, Bai Yu and the other 2 held a gathering and invited experts to kill Lin Tian. In the end, the main culprit came to their door and killed everyone. This made the younger generation of the Bai family furious. They searched everywhere for Lin Tian. Unfortunately, 10 days passed in the blink of an eye, and no one could find any trace of Lin Tian. It was as if Lin Tian had completely disappeared. That thief, where is he hiding? Does he only know how to hide in the world? Continue searching. I don't believe that he can hide forever. The younger generation of the Bai family had cold eyes. On this day, Lin Tian wore a gray robe and covered his face. He came to a bustling place. There were cultivators coming and going, and all of them were dressed in bright clothes. Vast Heaven District, Lin Tian muttered to himself. Chapter 348. Reading on a mobile phone. The Grand Heaven District was one of the most famous gathering places for cultivators in the Second Celestial Realm. There were various auction houses and treasure trading pavilions. Cultivators could go there, and as long as they could afford it, they could usually find what they wanted. Please search Product and Book Yin Network to see the most complete. At the same time, there were also Geoke Immortal Pavilions, which allowed cultivators to relax. There were many beautiful fairies and refreshing nectar inside. Some powerful cultivators would often visit these Geoke Immortal Pavilions. Lin Tian walked into the vast Heaven District with his gray robe on his back. There were many cultivators coming and going. Soon he stopped in front of a palace. This palace was dazzling and majestic. It was a stronghold set up by the Bai family in the vast Heaven District. It was responsible for collecting all kinds of Baodan weapons for the family at a low price. At the same time, it also sold some rare treasures. Because it was set up by the ancient Bai family, many cultivators came and went every day. There were no guards outside the door. Lin Tian walked in calmly. Inside the palace, there were many cultivators lined up in several lines. There were many tables and chairs placed around for the cultivators who came to trade to rest. Lin Tian was in a line. In his robe, thumb-sized pills appeared in his right hand. He hid them in his sleeve and crushed them one by one with his true essence. They turned into gas and quickly merged into the air. Time passed quickly. Soon, 15 minutes had passed. Soon, the cultivators in front finished their trades. It was Lin Tian's turn. "Excuse me, what do you need?" A middle-aged man from the Bai family asked in front of the counter. Seeing Lin Tian under his robe, the middle-aged man did not have any reaction. After all, he had seen many people like this. "I want to see the person in charge here." Lin Tiandao. The middle-aged man frowned. "What do you want?" "It's the same if you tell me." "I have Lin Tian's tracks. I need to talk to the person in charge here. I'll stay for 15 minutes at most." Lin Tiandao. The middle-aged man's expression changed. He said in a low voice, "Wait a moment." With that said, the middle-aged man quickly walked toward the cabinet. A few days ago, the three great figures of the Bai family had personally given the order to kill Lin Tian. Afterwards, many of the Bai family's clansmen had died at the hands of Lin Tian. This caused the Bai family to be even more furious. Now, all of the Bai family's experts outside wanted to kill Lin Tian with their own hands. Unfortunately, they had lost track of Lin Tian. Now that someone had brought Lin Tian's tracks here, it was naturally important. After roughly 10 breaths of time, the middle-aged man returned, an elder following behind him. His complexion was rosy, and his aura was extremely powerful. "My friend, do you have traces of Lin Tian's?" Bai Mingxiu was dealing with some matters in the inner chamber. When he heard the middle-aged man mention that someone had brought news about Lin Tian, he immediately put down what he was doing and followed the middle-aged man out. Killing Lin Tian was an order given by the three great figures of the direct line of descent, so it was obvious how important it was. Bai Mingxiu naturally wouldn't neglect it. Lin Tian looked at Bai Mingxiu. "Are you the one in charge here?" "Yes." Bai Mingxiu said. "You have the strongest cultivation in this place?" Lin Tian continued. Bai Mingxiu frowned and said, "Yes." After a pause, Bai Mingxiu said in a deep voice, "My friend, do you really have traces of Lin Tian? If it's true, please tell us. My Bai family will naturally give you a suitable price that will definitely satisfy you." "A suitable price?" "Of course. The heads of all the Bai family members in your stronghold should be quite suitable." Lin Tian said. As soon as these words came out, the faces of Bai Mingxiu and the middle-aged man beside him immediately darkened. You tricked us. Bai Mingshu's face suddenly turned cold. Of course not. Lin Tian laughed, lifted his gray robe, and revealed his true appearance. Look, do I look like I'm tricking you? Bai Mingshu and the middle-aged man's expressions immediately changed. It's you. You're quite bold. You're just as the rumors say. Bai Mingshu said coldly. At this time, the other cultivators in the hall also recognized Lin Tian. Suddenly, their expressions all changed. It's really that Lin Tian. The younger generation of the Bai family, is hunting him everywhere, searching for his whereabouts. He actually came here? Isn't he courting death? Everyone stared at him. This place was a small stronghold set up by the ancient Bai family outside. There were many experts living here, and the weakest was at the 8th heavenly layer of the Sea of Consciousness. The leader was even at the peak of the Zephyr realm. At this moment, Lin Tian came here alone. This made most of the cultivators here dumbfounded and almost petrified on the spot. How could there be such a stupid and arrogant person? Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Figures in the hall swayed, and soon, dozens of experts surrounded Lin Tian. These people were all powerful clansmen of the Bai family placed here. There were a total of 37 of them. Among them, 10 were at the Zephyr realm, and 27 were at the Sea of Consciousness realm. All of them were very energetic, and it was obvious that they were very powerful. Friends, please do what you were doing before. Don't worry, my Bai family will soon suppress this thief. Bai Mingshu said. As the leader of a small stronghold of the ancient Bai family, Bai Mingshu was full of confidence. As soon as he finished speaking, a Bai family expert rushed toward Lin Tian. He was at the peak of the Sea of Consciousness realm. Lin Tian raised his hand, directly slapping this person until he was blasted into pieces, dyeing the palace's floor red. Smashing a peak Sea of Consciousness realm cultivator with one palm? What kind of physical body is this? Is he the reincarnation of a dragon? What a terrifying physique! Someone's heart palpitated. At this moment, Lin Tian waved his hand, and a gust of sword wind swept past, completely closing the door of the Bai family's hall. Facing the people of the Bai family, he was very calm, and strong. Friends, please do what you were doing before. Don't worry, I'm only here to target the people of the Bai family. Those who have nothing to do with the Bai family, just watch quietly. Hearing these words, the cultivators were stunned. They only felt that Lin Tian had gone crazy. He barged into the Bai family's stronghold alone, facing dozens of Bai family experts, and facing a peak Zephyr realm expert, and said such words? Even if these people had seen Lin Tian's powerful physical body, they still felt that Lin Tian was too arrogant when they heard what he said. Cut him down, you ignorant brat. Bai Mingshu laughed out of anger. As soon as he finished speaking, the cultivators of the Bai family around him pressed down on Lin Tian. However, in the next moment, someone's expression changed, and he exclaimed, "What's going on? Where's my vital essence? I can't move." Me too. Damn it, I can't use my martial skills, let alone my divine abilities. What happened? The expressions of the Bai family members changed. Bai Mingshu was moved. With a thought, a faint light appeared on the surface of his body, and then his expression changed. At this moment, his vital essence could flow, but it was extremely chaotic. He couldn't use his divine abilities or martial skills. At the same time, the other cultivators exclaimed. Almost everyone felt that their vital essence had frozen. What's going on? Someone panicked. Bai Mingshu stared at Lin Tian with a pale face. It's you. What did you do? There's no need to tell you what I did. Lin Tian smiled, and a treasure sword appeared in his hand. He turned to look at the others. Everyone, please stay where you are and don't move. Just watch quietly. I'm only here to kill the people of the Bai family. However, if any one of you dares to move, don't blame my sword for being blind. The cultivators' expressions changed immediately. During this period of time, the outside world had heard that Lin Tian had killed hundreds of people, whether they were from the 10 major sects, powerful itinerant cultivators, or members of the ancient families. People had died in Lin Tian's hands. He had never shown mercy to anyone. At this moment, the cultivator's vital essence had frozen. After hearing Lin Tian's words, no one dared to move. That's right. Lin Tian squinted his eyes and smiled. He tilted his head and looked at the dozens of powerful cultivators of the Bai family. He raised his long sword and slashed without hesitation. You poof, poof, poof. Blood splashed. Immediately, a few powerful cultivators of the Bai family at the 9th level of the spiritual sea fell into a pool of blood. After arriving here, Lin Tian secretly used his vital essence to shatter 10 Baodan pills. After shattering the pills with his vital essence, they would turn into gas. They were colorless and odorless. They would fuse with the air and maintain the effect of the pills for 15 minutes. In this 15 minutes, any cultivator below the immortal ascension realm who breathed in this air would have their vital essence in chaos. They would even be temporarily frozen and lose their combat ability. At this moment, everyone in the hall had breathed in the air mixed with the chi of the vitality sealing pill. Most of their vital essence had been frozen. Even someone as strong as Bai Mingxiu, who was at the peak of the Zephyr realm, had his vital essence in chaos. He could not use his martial arts skills smoothly. Basically, he only had the combat ability of the third sky of the Zephyr realm. What kind of despicable trick did you use? The middle-aged man at the beginning said angrily. Despicable? So what if I'm despicable to your Bai family? Lin Tian smiled. He appeared in front of the middle-aged man in a flash. The long sword in his hand slashed down. With a poof, the middle-aged man's head was cut off. Originally, the middle-aged man's cultivation was at the second sky of the Zephyr realm. However, after absorbing the chi of the vitality sealing pill, his vital essence was completely frozen. His combat ability was at its lowest. How could he be Lin Tian's opponent? He raised his long sword and appeared in front of another powerful cultivator of the Bai family. He raised his fist and smashed it down. Poof! His current physique could be said to be amazing. He smashed the early-stage Zephyr realm cultivator into pieces on the spot. He appeared on the other side and slashed out the yang incinerating fifth sword, accurately sweeping out a large amount of sword light. Poof! 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 Screams rang out. After their vital essence was sealed, the ordinary cultivators of the Bai family could not resist the powerful yang incinerating sword chi. They could not even dodge. One by one, their hearts, throats, and glabella were pierced. They fell into a pool of blood. No, stop. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Ah, stop. Master Ming Su, save us. Screams and cries for help mixed together. Blood splashed out. In this square building, the other cultivators outside the Bai family trembled. Their faces were pale. This was the stronghold of the ancient Bai family. Everyone in this heaven realm knew about it. However, at this moment, a 17-year-old boy who was being chased by the Bai family broke into this place alone. He attacked mercilessly and killed more than 20 powerful cultivators of the Bai family in the blink of an eye. Everyone was so shocked that they felt a chill down their spines. This was a young demon king. Bastard. Bai Ming Su was furious. He took a step forward and forcibly activated the soulless palm. His vital essence was chaotic as he slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tian sneered as he used his divining divine art to unleash the same void god palm. You think you can fight me in your current state? The two void god palms collided with each other as violent Jin Yuan spread out, forcing Bai Mingxiu back 3 steps. Then Lin Tian stepped on the yin and yang liang and moved. He appeared in front of another early-stage Zephyr realm cultivator of the Bai family. You poof! Chapter 349. Reading on a mobile phone in the blink of an eye, another airborne realm clansman was killed. Bai Mingxiu was furious to the extreme. Please search Taste Book Yin Network to see the most complete novel B** starred. Bai Mingxiu forcefully activated another secret technique from the Sutra of God. However, his vital essence was extremely chaotic and its power was insufficient. Lin Tianling smiled and moved forward with the yin and yang liang. I'll deal with you first. The effect of the energy sealing pill could not be maintained for too long. He had to race against time. Once the effect of the Baodan wore off, he would probably be left here when facing such a peak-level airborne realm expert. He held up the barren heaven realm and used it to protect his body. Then, he transformed the nine-spring sword into his hand and slashed at Bai Mingxiu. With a crack, Bai Mingxiu's secret technique was shattered. At the same time, he was knocked back several steps. Blood gushed out of Bai Mingxiu's mouth as he stared at Lin Tian with an ashen face. Originally, he was at the peak of the airborne realm and did not need to care about Lin Tian at all. But now, with his vital essence in chaos, he could only barely have the combat strength of a third-tier airborne realm expert. It was difficult for him to fully display his magic and martial arts. Now that he was injured by Lin Tian's sword, he was angry and sullen. Lin Tianling snorted. Without changing his pace, he pressed forward again. Clang! He held the nine-spring sword in his hand and slashed down again without hesitation. Bai Mingxiu tried his best to activate the Wushan palm, but it was useless. It was shattered with one strike. With a bang, Bai Mingxiu was kicked in the chest by Lin Tianyi, and his entire body was sent flying again. Lord Mingxiu! Thief! Damn it! The rest of the Bai clan were furious. They waved their swords and sabers at Lin Tiansha. However, with their vital essence sealed, these people were weak to the point of no threat to Lin Tianyi. Lin Tian waved his sword. A Bai clan expert at the 5th-tier airborne realm coughed up blood. His throat was cut open, and blood spurted out. You thief! Why waste your breath when you're about to die? Lin Tiandao. He swung his sword and cut off this person's head. Buzz! Light flickered, and the barren heaven world rushed up and pressed forward. Pooh! 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 Bloody mist exploded, and the few Bai clan cultivators were shattered by the light of the barren heaven world. I don't have much time to spend with you. Lin Tiandao. With a boom, he used the divining divine technique to activate the divine chime hall. A sea of lightning rushed up, and a tall divine shadow stood up. Divine Roar Palace? Damn it, Everyone from the Bai family was shocked and furious. Everyone in the world knew that the Divine Cry Temple was the Bai family's Thunder God Physique's King's Region. When this King's Region was activated, it could cross 6 small realms to kill enemies. But now, an outsider was actually using their Bai family's Holy Son's King's Region to deal with them. Shouldn't you feel honored to have the Divine Cry Palace kill you? Lin Tiantan said coldly. With a thought, the 10-foot-tall divine shadow swung the thunder sword and swept it away. In the blink of an eye, several more Bai family experts exploded, and some of the precious weapons in the pavilion were shattered on the spot. Thief! Stop it now! Bai Mingxiu roared. Lin Tiandao tilted his head and sneered. He directly activated the Divine Cry Palace. I'll kill you! He didn't hold back at all. The barren heaven realm, the Divine Cry Palace, the 9-spring sword, and several divine elephants pressed down together. At the same time, a broken mountain, a divine weapon bell, an ancient forest, and a sea of clover rushed out from behind him, covering Bai Mingxiu completely. The tremors caused the palace to break inch by inch, and cracks spread out in all directions. Facing several divine elephants, Bai Mingxiu coughed up blood. Bastard, the Bai family won't let you go. You won't live. Don't talk about the Bai family. Your Bai family is nothing. Lin Tianling smiled. Next, I'll play with your Bai family slowly. I'll let your leader know the consequences of provoking me for no reason. You poof. Several types of divine elephants pressed down together, shattering Bai Mingxiu into pieces on the spot. In the pavilion, the other cultivators outside the Bai family were all frightened, and their faces were pale. An expert at the peak of the Zephyr Plane from an ancient family was killed so easily. Lin Tianling tilted his head and looked at the last few people of the Bai family. Clang! With a swing of his sword, the 8th stroke of the Yang incinerating sword was slashed out. There were screams, but it didn't last for long. After a few dozen breaths, the last few Bai family experts were all killed. Looking around, the pavilion was covered in blood, and a few broken corpses fell to the ground. It was a shocking sight. In the pavilion, the cultivators outside the Bai family were all frightened and couldn't help but tremble. They only felt that the handsome young man in front of them was too terrifying. He was like a demon. Lin Tianling looked at them and said, "Everyone, you can leave now. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you." Hearing this, the group of cultivators all ran out in 5 breaths of time. Lin Tiantan smiled coldly. The divine cry palace behind him shook, and the thunder shadow suddenly enlarged to more than 10 meters tall. A thunder sword appeared in the divine shadow's hand. With a clang, it shook the pavilion open and then cut it into pieces. Smoke and dust billowed into the sky. Lin Tianling didn't stay. He covered his face with the gray robe again and left in an instant. That person is simply too ruthless. Outside the pavilion of the Bai family, the cultivators who walked out were all frightened and pale. He barged in alone and killed everyone of the Bai family here. In the end, he even destroyed the entire pavilion. Everyone's hearts were beating wildly. Soon, more people gathered here. After learning the details, they were all shocked. There's actually such a bold person? Some people were frightened. After leaving the Vaskai district, Lin Tianling appeared in the Bai family's stronghold in the Hangzhou origin. "It's you." The leader of the Bai family in the stronghold was shocked. "It's me. I'm here to send you on your way." Lin Tianan smiled. With a shake of his long sword, the barren heaven world appeared and pressed down on everyone. "You're courting death." The Bai clan's manager had a cold expression on his face. A little sea of consciousness cultivator who was being chased by the clan actually dared to break into the Bai clan's stronghold. "I admire your arrogance because it saves the clan the time of looking for you. Is that so? Soon, you'll hate my arrogance." Lin Tiantan smiled. The leader of the Bai family snorted coldly. "Take him down." Dozens of Bai family experts surrounded him. However, in the next moment, everyone's expression changed, including several powerful existences at the 7th heavenly layer of the Zephyr realm. They all stopped abruptly. "Where's my vital essence? Why can't I feel my vital essence? I can't use my martial skills." Everyone in the Bai family was shocked. Then, the leader of the Bai family and the other cultivators in the stronghold all changed their expressions. Lin Tianyi smiled casually and directly used the divining divine technique. "Ah!" Screams soon sounded. Blood sputtered in the hall. After about half an hour, the screams weakened. Dozens of Bai family experts, including 3 at the 7th heavenly layer of the Zephyr realm, 5 at the 6th heavenly layer of the Zephyr realm, some ordinary Zephyr realm cultivators, and dozens of Sea of Consciousness cultivators were all killed. Only the leader at the peak of the Zephyr realm survived, but he was also on the verge of death. "Now, do you still admire my arrogance?" Lin Tiantan narrowed his eyes. "You, puff." The divine roar palace and the barren heaven realm pressed down together and directly shattered the Bai family expert. Lin Tiantan's expression was indifferent. He shattered the hall with the divine roar palace and then left, leaving a group of cultivators outside the Bai family who witnessed all this standing outside the hall in a daze. They all looked pale and couldn't help but gasp. Not long after leaving the Hangzhou origin, Lin Tiantan appeared in the Yin Square. Just like before, he used the same method to shatter 10 energy sealing pills, completely massacred the stronghold of the Bai family in the Yin Square, and completely shattered the entire hall. With a faint smile, he carried his gray robe and left in an instant. The ancient Bai family was actually, that person is simply a lunatic. Some of the cultivators who witnessed the whole process were terrified and only felt that their backs were covered by a layer of ice. Soon, the news spread like wildfire. A 17-year-old youth who was being chased by the ancient Bai family appeared in the Haotian district, the Hangzhou origin, and the Yan'an Square of his own accord. He destroyed all the strongholds of the Bai family in these 3 places. All the Bai family experts in these 3 strongholds were killed, and none of them escaped. This immediately shocked the world. "Oh my God, is this true? That's not possible, right?" That's right. The 3 strongholds of the Bai family were guarded by many Zephyr Plane experts, and the strongest was at the peak of the Zephyr Plane. That Lin Tiantan, it said that he's only at the 8th level of the spiritual sea. How could he do this? That's right. It's true. Someone saw it with their own eyes. Rumor has it that the people in those strongholds had their spiritual ether frozen. Their spiritual ether frozen? This was that Lin Tian's doing? Nonsense, it's obvious. Many people were discussing. Those who did not believe it rushed to the 3 areas and saw the destroyed strongholds of the Bai family and the corpses and blood of the Bai family experts. Their hearts palpitated. The Bai family is a behemoth that has been passed down since the ancient times. That Lin Tian dares to openly provoke the Bai family? Is he going to make an enemy of the entire Bai family? Some people stared. The Bai family, which had been passed down since the ancient times, had looked down on this region for more than 10,000 years. It was a true behemoth that no one dared to offend. But now, a 17-year-old youth had taken the initiative to kill the Bai family. He's too arrogant. Some people trembled. In the second heaven, many cultivators were shocked. At the same time, the Bai family was even more furious. Since the founding of the Bai family, they had dominated this region for countless years. When had anyone dared to offend the Bai family like this? Never. Even the heavenly monster mountain, which had always been at odds with human cultivators, did not dare to do so. But now, a 17-year-old youth, who was only at the 8th level of the spiritual sea, had directly killed his way to the strongholds of the Bai family outside the family, completely destroyed 3 strongholds, and killed all the members of the Bai family in those strongholds. This was undoubtedly a challenge to the dignity of the ancient Bai family. Find him and kill him. Skin him. Light up the sky lantern. Capture him and bring him back to the family. Let the ancestors extract his divine soul and imprison it in front of the tombstones of the dead clansmen forever. The young experts of the Bai family were furious. They frantically searched for Lin Tian's traces and swore to tear his tendons and break his bones. On the same day, on a wide road, Lin Tian appeared in front of several young experts of the Bai family. Are you looking for me? Chapter 350. Reading on the mobile phone, seeing Lin Tian appear, the faces of several young powerhouses of the Bai family changed. Pin Booknet. How dare you appear in front of us? One of them said coldly. What a joke. I even dared to break into the strongholds of your Bai family. What are you all? Lin Tian said disdainfully. There were 9 powerhouses of the Bai family in front of him. Only one of them was at the early stage of the Zephyr realm, and the other 8 were at the Sea of Consciousness realm. Without any superfluous words, he brandished his sword and rushed towards the 9 people. Without a doubt, this was a battle without any suspense. In the blink of an eye, 8 Sea of Consciousness realm cultivators were killed. The young man at the early stage of the Zephyr realm turned pale and tried to jump into the air, but unfortunately, he was beheaded as soon as he took a step. Glancing at the corpses of the 9 people indifferently, he turned around and left. Not long after, he appeared in front of another old forest and killed another group of young cultivators of the Bai family, staining the ground with blood. Oh my God! Some people witnessed this scene with their own eyes, feeling that their hearts were about to jump out of their chests. Afterwards, Lin Tian wore another black robe and appeared before over a dozen young cultivators of the Bai family, one after another. He slew all the experts of the Bai family who were searching for him, not letting a single one escape. Such behavior undoubtedly caused the Bai family to be even angrier. The young cultivators of the Bai family became even crazier. They searched everywhere, threatening to grind Lin Tian's bones into ashes. However, what they got in return was more corpses of the young generation of the Bai family. At the same time, a voice sounded from the old forest. Old fogies of the Bai family, tell your younger generation to obediently hide in the family's lair. Don't ever let them out and run around. Otherwise, I'll kill every one of you I see. As soon as such a voice came out, it instantly spread throughout the second heaven, causing everyone to be shocked. Everyone's eyes widened, and their faces were full of disbelief. A 17-year-old sea of consciousness realm cultivator dared to openly challenge an ancient family. He's too arrogant. This was the unanimous opinion of everyone. Whether this Lin Tian survives or not, he will leave a thick mark in the history of the second heaven. Someone said, 17 years old, 8th level sea of consciousness. Yet he dared to challenge an ancient aristocratic family all by himself. How could an ordinary person have such courage? Behead! In the easternmost land, within the Bai clan, a cold voice rang out. It was wrapped in unconcealable anger and killing intent. On this day, 7 young men walked out from the Bai family. All of them had majestic figures, extraordinary appearances, and shockingly dense blood chi. Bring back his head. A cold voice came from the Bai family, echoing throughout the sky. The 7 people's eyes were cold as they disappeared in the blink of an eye. The news quickly spread, and the Bai family was furious. A true expert of the younger generation appeared. 2 years ago, the 7 heroes of the Bai family seemed to have dominated the second heaven. Few in the same generation could contend against them. These 7 people are all at the second layer of the Zephyr realm, but there are rumors that all 7 of them can kill a 5th layer of the Zephyr realm. Are you sure? Of course. It is said that in the same generation of the Bai family, only the Thunder God physique can suppress these 7 people. Nonsense. That's the King physique, the real supreme being of the same generation. Under the immortal realm, he is basically an invincible existence. If that's the case, that Lin Tian is in danger. With the 7 heroes of the Bai family together, it is expected that it will be difficult for that person to survive. Isn't he courting death by provoking an ancient family? Really, many people shook their heads. In a green mountain, Lin Tian listened to the rumors in the outside world, and his eyes narrowed slightly. A second layer of the Zephyr realm, but he can kill a 5th layer of the Zephyr realm. He is indeed powerful. He looked into the distance with a cold smile on his face. If these 7 heroes die outside, the Bai family should be heartbroken. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, and with a flash, he disappeared from the spot. The second heaven was filled with mountains and rivers, and the spiritual chi was extremely abundant. Even in some ordinary old forests, one could occasionally see a few powerful demon beasts. Lin Tian, wearing a black robe, walked in the mountains and old forests, inhaling and exhaling the spiritual chi in the forest. After passing through many corners, he stopped at the intersection of a main road and sat on a yellow stone not far away. Whoosh! A light breeze blew, rolling up pieces of sand and dust. There were many cultivators on the main road, but their cultivation was not strong. The highest was only at the 6th layer of the sea of consciousness. Soon, 2 hours passed. In the distance, a young man in luxurious clothes walked past, attracting the attention of all the passers-by. By Luocheng, one of the 7 heroes of the Bai family. His aura is so strong. Strange, why is there only one person? Didn't the 7 of them come out of the family together? What kind of people are the 7 heroes of the Bai family? They are all proud people. They are just chasing and killing a cultivator at the 8th layer of the sea of consciousness. How could there be 7 of them together? They separated when they walked out of the family gate. Many people said, seeing Bai Luocheng walking over, many people hurriedly retreated to the side and made way for him. Bai Luocheng's expression was cold, as if there was no one around, and he directly walked forward. At this moment, the sound of a sword rang out, and the flaming sword chi rolled over and landed beside his feet. This? Who is attacking? How dare they block the path of the 7 heroes of the Bai family? Are they crazy? Many rogue cultivators were shocked. Bai Luocheng's expression did not change, and he tilted his head and looked in the direction of the sword chi. Not dodging, not avoiding, not changing your expression, you are indeed extraordinary. A voice sounded. On the yellow stone in the distance, Lin Tian stood up and lifted his black robe. It's that Lin Tian? Why is he here? At this fork, the rogue cultivators were all shocked. Bai Luocheng looked at Lin Tian, and a faint light flashed in his cold eyes. You deliberately waited for me here? I waited for 2 hours and wanted to borrow your head. Lin Tiantan smiled. Hearing this, the surrounding people were shocked. The 7 heroes of the Bai family came out to kill him, but this guy actually took the initiative to wait for the 7 heroes here? He wants to kill the 7 of them? He is too arrogant. Many people were shocked. Bai Luoqing's eyes were cold. As arrogant as the rumors say. After saying this, Bai Luoqing did not say anything else and rushed toward Lin Tian like lightning. So fast. This speed. It's the Bai family's divine void puppet. The crowd exclaimed. After that, dense phantoms of Bai Luoqing appeared in all directions. It was difficult to distinguish which one was real and which one was fake. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. His feet swayed, and he also moved. Every step he took created an afterimage, as if he was walking on the great path. In the blink of an eye, dense phantoms appeared at this fork. Seeing this scene, many cultivators were shocked and retreated in unison. At this moment, no one could distinguish which one was real and which one was fake. Some people even rubbed their eyes from time to time, dazzled by the dense phantoms. Bang! 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 The sound of fists colliding could be heard from time to time. After 7 breaths, the phantoms in the sky collapsed, and 2 figures were sent flying backward. You have such a physique and speed when you are only at the 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness. No wonder so many people of my Bai family died at your hands. Bai Luoqing said coldly, You are not bad yourself. You are much stronger than the ordinary airborne realm trash of your Bai family. Lin Tiandao. His eyes narrowed slightly. This Bai Luoqing was indeed very powerful. His physique, speed, and spiritual sense were all very shocking. Bai Luoqing snorted coldly, and the aura around his body suddenly increased wildly. Don't be so smug. This is all you have. You can die now. I will take your head and offer it to the souls of our family. Violent spiritual ether spread out. In the next moment, a 3-meter-tall divine shadow appeared behind Bai Luoqing. This divine shadow had dense hands. At a glance, it was dazzling. Is this that secret art? 3-meter-tall divine shadow and dense hands. There is no doubt about it. This is one of the core magic of the Bai family, the 1,000 illusory divine hands. It is said that only the direct disciples are qualified to cultivate this kind of art. Its power can shatter mountains and shake seas. It is very terrifying. That is right. Many cultivators were moved. Bai Luoqing stepped forward, and the divine shadow behind him moved with him. The Bai family has been around for more than 10,000 years. Since ancient times, we have looked down on this region. No one has ever dared to provoke us. If anyone dares to challenge the dignity of our family, there is only one word to describe it: kill. Boom! As soon as Bai Luoqing finished speaking, the divine shadow behind him moved. All of a sudden, the divine shadow moved and dense handprints pressed down together. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed, and he immediately felt a great pressure. He took a step back and propped up the barren heaven world and divine cry hall to press forward. Barren heaven world? Divine cry hall? He actually knows how to do it. It's clearly a bloodline magic unique to the king's territories. Many cultivators were shocked. Although these people had long heard that Lin Tian knew how to use the barren heaven world and divine cry hall, they still couldn't help but be shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. The barren heaven world and divine cry hall swayed and faced the large hands in the sky. All of a sudden, the violent spiritual ether swept in all directions, causing the air to distort. Only the king's territory divine powers can be derived from the king's territory. What you can deduce is just the form. How much power can it have? Bai Luoqing said coldly. As soon as he said that, the divine shadow behind him trembled, and even more dense handprints fell. With a crack, cracks appeared in the barren heaven world, and it shattered on the spot. Afterwards, the divine cry hall trembled and dissipated like fireworks. Lin Tian frowned and quickly retreated. Before this, he had used the divining divine technique to derive the barren heaven world and divine cry hall. and they were almost always invincible. However, at this moment, they were defeated by Luocheng head-on, which made him a little shocked. He thought to himself that Luocheng was indeed very powerful and worthy of being called one of the 7 heroes of the Bai family. "That's all you're capable of," Luocheng said. Behind him, the figure trembled and a huge handprint pressed down, covering everything within a 30-foot radius. "Don't be too full of yourself," Lin Tianling said. He activated the Divine technique and evolved the 9-spring sword. With a swing of his sword, he shattered the handprint into pieces. Luocheng's expression was indifferent. The figure behind him trembled and more handprints pressed down. With a crisp crack, Lin Tian's 9-spring sword was shattered. He propped up the primordial mountain, the divine weapon bell, and the immortal forest, but it was still useless. They were shattered again and again. The 1,000 transformations divine hands is endless. Everything you do is in vain. All your methods will be shattered. Luocheng said. Lin Tian dodged and stepped on the yin-yang puppet to retreat dozens of feet away. "Is that so? Then let's see what you can't break," he said coldly. With a buzz, his right hand shook, and the 4 symbols Tao diagram condensed. Chapter 351. The 4 symbols Tao diagram buzzed and trembled, releasing specks of silver light that shot forward. "It's useless." Luocheng's expression was cold. "Whether it's useful or not is up to me." Lin Tiandao. He held the Tao diagram in his right hand, trembling slightly as he charged forward. With a hiss, the 1,000 phantoms' dense mass of hands instantly dissipated, vanishing without a trace. Lin Tiandao used the Tao diagram to open a path, destroying one hand after another to force his way toward Luocheng. Luocheng's expression changed, and he hurriedly retreated. "You can actually destroy my divine ability light, but how much can you destroy?" With that, Luocheng took a step back, but the phantoms behind him moved even faster, sending down even more giant hands like a 1,000-armed Buddha. Lin Tiandao held the 4 symbols Tao diagram and immediately felt the pressure. Although the Tao diagram could seal everything, Luocheng was too strong. The divine ability light was endless, and the giant hands were extremely ferocious and full of offensive power. He couldn't destroy them all in a short time. Ka! With a crisp sound, a clear crack appeared on the 4 symbols Tao diagram in his hand. Lin Tiandao's expression changed, and he hurriedly retreated. At this moment, he truly felt how terrifying Luocheng was. The title of Clan's 7 heroes was not just for show. "Many thanks for waiting for me here. If I take your head back to the clan, it will be a great merit," Luocheng said. As Luocheng stepped forward, the 1,000 phantoms behind him moved as well, and the giant hands pressed down once more. "Similarly, I'll borrow your head and give your clan a surprise." Lin Tiandao. "Presumptuous," Luocheng coldly snorted. With a boom, the phantoms behind him shone brightly. This time, it wasn't just the giant hands, but also fists, palms, and fingers. At the same time, true Yuan weapons appeared in some of the giant hands. There were sabers, swords, bells, shields, and even net-like objects. There were a total of 8 true Yuan weapons. In the distance, a cultivator's expression changed. 1,000 illusory, godly hands. It's said that when this divine ability is cultivated to its peak, it can create 1,000 illusory artifacts. Its power is unparalleled, and it can destroy a huge mountain with a single thought. Luocheng has actually cultivated this divine ability to such a level that he can already create artifacts. This is terrifying. It seems the rumors that the 7 heroes of clan can kill a 5th heavenly layer powerhouse are true. Terrifying. The crowd was horrified, sensing Luocheng's aura divine ability of Luocheng's Luocheng. "I fought against a 6th-tier Zephyr Realm expert with this form of this technique. You're not wrong to die under this move," Luocheng said. Stepping forward, Luocheng's expression was cold. The 1,000 phantoms' divine hands moved at the same time and pressed down on Lin Tian. The 8 true yuan weapons rumbled and distorted the void. Do you really think you can kill me? Lin Tianling said. Behind him, the barren heaven world, the divine cry temple, and the 9 springs sword rushed forward. I've said it before. The weapons of the king's region are useless against me. Bai Luoqing said. The 1,000 phantoms' divine hands shook, and in a moment, the 3 divine elephants were crushed. Lin Tian didn't care about that. He raised his hands and formed a seal again. This time, a stone platform and a stone wall rushed out behind him. On the stone wall, a line of ancient words was overflowing with divine light, and the words Dao and Run were circulating with great pressure. What's that? What a terrifying pressure this. Why do I feel like I'm facing an immortal Ascension realm powerhouse? Some cultivators' hearts palpitated. Staring at the stone platform and stone wall that rushed out behind Lin Tian, everyone's bodies trembled. At the same time, crackling sounds could be heard. In an instant, the shadows of Bai Luoqing's fists and palms were shattered. Bai Luoqing's expression changed as he stared at the stone platform and stone wall behind Lin Tian. He actually felt his heart palpitate. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He took a step forward and pressed down on Bai Luoqing. He used the divining divine technique to simulate the place where Heavenly Lord Dao Run comprehended the Dao back then. The aura inside was extremely terrifying. Although it was an illusion, it still had great power. Chi! 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 This time, the 1,000 phantoms' divine hands couldn't destroy the stone platform and stone wall created by Lin Tian. What are you doing? Bai Luoqing shouted. At this moment, the man who was one of the 7 heroes of the Bai family had truly changed. Lin Tianling smiled and didn't say anything. He used the yin and yang ho and increased his speed, instantly approaching Bai Luoqing. Bai Luoqing left an afterimage on the spot and stepped on the divine void puppet to retreat quickly. You can't compare speed, Lin Tianling said. He used the yin and yang ho and instantly caught up to Bai Luoqing. The stone platform and stone wall above him pressed down together. Shatter! Bai Luoqing roared. The 1,000 phantoms' divine hands trembled as they attacked Lin Tian in a frenzy. Lin Tian used the stone platform and stone wall to meet the attacks. He felt the blood in his chest boil, and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Suppress, he said coldly. With a boom, the stone platform and stone wall trembled and shattered. Bai Luoqing coughed up blood and staggered back. The 1,000 phantoms' divine hands behind him almost shattered. At this moment, Lin Tian pressed forward again. Die! Bai Luoqing roared. Behind him, the 1,000 phantoms' divine hands rose from the ground. This time, not only were there giant palms, there were also leg shadows pressing down. Lin Tian felt an even stronger pressure, and all the bones in his body were creaking. Let's see how long you can last, he said coldly. The stone platform and stone wall met the attack. At the same time, he used the 4 symbols Dao diagram, causing it to expand to a diameter of around 20 feet. With the stone platform and stone wall opening the way and the 4 symbols Dao diagram behind, the giant palms and leg shadows continued to shatter and disappear. The 2 sides were locked in a stalemate. Lin Tian strode forward, approaching Bai Luoqing with great difficulty. After several dozen breaths of time, he finally opened a path. His feet flickered, and he approached Bai Luoqing. You bang! Lin Tian swung his fist and struck Bai Luoqing's face. Bai Luoqing flew back 30 feet, the divine shadows behind him shattering. His expression changed, and he quickly steadied himself. With a hand seal, a new 1,000 phantoms' divine hands gradually formed behind him. Don't even think about it, Lin Tianling said. He could not give Bai Luoqing another chance to form the 1,000 phantoms' divine hands. He used the yin and yang ho and instantly closed in. With a bang, another punch landed on Bai Luoqing's chest. The sound of bones shattering rang out, and Bai Luoqing was sent flying again. Lin Tian's eyes were as sharp as knives. He took a step forward, closed in again, and punched again. Bai Luoqing roared and raised his fist to meet the attack. The 2 fists collided. Bai Luocheng immediately let out a muffled groan. His fingers shattered, and he was sent flying again. The 7 heroes of the Bai family, are said to have strong physiques. They soak in all kinds of medicinal pools since they were young, and their physiques are comparable to diamond. But now, they can't beat Lin Tian? Does that Lin Tian have the barbarian king physique? The cultivators' hearts palpitated. At this time, Lin Tian had already closed in on Bai Luocheng again, and he punched again. This time, he used all his strength and directly shattered one of Bai Luocheng's arms. Bai Luocheng grunted in pain, and his remaining arm swung the limitless divine palm at Lin Tian. Poof! Lin Tian shook his iron fist and shattered Bai Luocheng's last arm. Bai Luocheng roared, his eyes bloodshot. Now that his arms were broken, he stepped on the divine void puppet and attacked Lin Tian. Courageous! Courageous! Lin Tian praised. Unfortunately, we are enemies. I'll give you a quick death. A high-grade supreme treasure sword appeared in his hand. He unfolded the lightning sword and directly cut off Bai Luocheng's head. A pillar of blood spurted out, and Bai Luocheng's corpse fell to the ground. Lin Tian looked back, put away Bai Luocheng's head, and left with a cold look in his eyes. 6 more. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and muttered to himself coldly. This, Bai Luocheng, one of the 7 heroes of the Bai family, was killed. That Lin Tian, who is he? How can he be so powerful? He is only at the 8th level of the spiritual sea. Everyone's lips trembled. On the 2nd day, the spiritual chi was dense, and the sky was always blue. After killing Bai Luocheng, Lin Tian, dressed in a black robe, stepped into the mountains and rivers. Not long after, he encountered the second 7 heroes of the Bai family. After an intense battle, he cut off the head of the second 7 heroes of the Bai family and left with large strides. On a grassland, he killed the third 7 heroes. Outside the vast heaven district, the sky had already darkened. After killing the fourth 7 heroes, he returned to the mountains to recuperate with bloodstains all over his body. On the 2nd day, he walked out of the mountains and attacked again, killing the 5th and 6th 7 heroes. On the 3rd day, beside a river, 2 figures were running one after another. Both of them were covered in blood, but their speed was extremely fast. That's Lin Tian. He seems to be chasing after the young man in front. The one running away is Bai Zihua. Bai Zihua? It is said that he is the strongest of the 7 heroes. Now he is actually running away? I must have seen wrongly. Beside the river, a group of cultivators opened their eyes wide. Bai Zihua was at the peak of level 2 of the Zephyr Realm. It was said that he had personally torn apart several level 5 of the Zephyr Realm, but now, he was actually running away. Everyone, please help me suppress this scoundrel. My Bai family will definitely repay you generously. Bai Zihua shouted. There were many cultivators beside the river. If it were any other time, if they heard such a voice and could help the Bai family's experts, these cultivators would probably rush up without hesitation. But now no one dared to move. Some people even lowered their heads and pretended that they didn't see anything. What a joke. During this period of time, Lin Tian had killed several hundred people, including powerful itinerant cultivators and disciples of great sections. He had even destroyed 3 of the Bai family's strongholds and killed 6 of the 7 heroes. His ferocious name had spread throughout the 2nd heaven. With such a ferocious name, who would still dare to go up? That would be courting death. Seeing that no one went up, Bai Zihua's countenance turned ashen. He was both shocked and furious. Damn it! Stepping on the divine void puppet, Bai Zihua fled frantically. You won't be able to escape, Lin Tianling said. His entire body was covered in blood, and he executed the yin-yang Tao to its limits. He finally caught up to Bai Zihua after several dozen breaths. Lin Tian, stop. We can discuss this. Discuss? Go look for the King of Hell for this matter. Sword chimes rang out, and Lin Tian's eyes were cold and merciless. He pierced through Bai Zihua's heart and then chopped off his head. His eyes were indifferent as he looked around and took out the heads of the other 6 heroes from his stone ring. He then pierced through the 7 heads with a long sword and nailed them to a spacious ground beside the river. Then, he took out another long sword, vibrated his vital essence, and carved a line of words on the ground. The second gift, you're welcome, Lin Tian. After throwing a cold glance, he turned to leave. Chapter 352. Beside the river, splashing sounds could be heard as the water splashed into a few old rocks, creating snow-white waves. 7 heads were pierced through by a sword and nailed to the ground. The words in front of the heads were even more glaring. The second gift, you're welcome, Lin Tian. Someone read it subconsciously and suddenly felt a chill rush from the soles of his feet to his head. This madman. First, he destroyed 3 of the Bai family strongholds. Then he killed the 7 heroes of the Bai family. This is considered 2 gifts? This is simply a slap to the Bai family's face. I seem to have heard a loud slap in the face. This enmity is really big. Many people gasped. The 7 heroes of the Bai family were incomparably powerful. They were all geniuses of their generation. In such a large family, only the Thunder God physique could suppress the 7 heroes. They were the blood and sweat of the Bai family, but now, the 7 heroes were all killed by a single person. Soon, the news spread, and more people came to watch. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at the 7 heads and the line of words carved on the ground. I've never seen such an arrogant person in my life. Sorry, me too? Everyone stared. In the second heaven, who didn't know the majesty of the ancient Bai family, who dared to offend the ancient Bai family. That was a ferocious tiger, a dragon that reigned over this heaven realm. But now, a little cultivator at the 8th heavenly layer dared to provoke the ancient Bai clan without any powerful backup. This caused the entire world to be shaken once again. In the Bai family's territory, a roar rushed out, startling the white cranes flying in the sky. Beast! The 3 big shots of the Bai family were furious to the extreme. The destruction of the 3 strongholds in the vast heaven area was nothing. At most, it would make the Bai family lose face. However, the death of the 7 heroes really made the 3 of them feel distressed. These 7 people were all extraordinary and possessed shocking talents. They could be considered as the future pillars of the Bai clan. Today, the 7 of them were all killed outside the Bai clan. This loss was too great. In particular, after Lin Tian beheaded the 7 heroes of the Bai clan, he actually pierced through their skulls and nailed them to the ground, leaving behind a line of words. This made the 3 great figures of the Bai clan so angry that smoke was coming out of their heads. The other members of the Bai clan also had ugly expressions on their faces. They only felt a burning pain on their cheeks, as if they were really slapped in the face. No matter what, we must kill this kid, a big shot said. In the beginning, the 3 of them only wanted to kill off Lin Tian because they didn't want any accidents to happen to the marriage alliance between the Bai family and the Li family. But now, the 2 families were on opposite sides. In the past, even if they didn't kill off Lin Tian, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now, they couldn't. If they didn't kill off Lin Tian now, the Bai family would lose a lot of face and become a laughingstock. Kill! 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 These 3 words resounded in the sky above the Bai family, and the killing intent was shockingly cold. The second heaven was in an uproar. Now in every corner, every place, restaurant, palace, and storytelling stall, everyone was discussing intensely, and the center of the discussion was all about one word. Lin Tian. This Lin Quangren? What's going on? This is 17 years old, and he used to cultivate in the Limitless sect. It's said that he didn't rely on any resources from the Wuji Gate. Such a person, without any backup, and relying entirely on himself. How can he be so strong? Who knows? He's a monster. Many people shook their heads. Among them, some felt that Lin Tian was too arrogant. Some felt that Lin Tian was full of courage, but they were all shocked. Lin Tian heard a lot of these voices, but he didn't care. After leaving the river, He walked into an old forest and prepared to concentrate on his cultivation. He wanted to reach the 9th level of the mental ocean as soon as possible, and then use the Imperial Sky Pill to reach the Imperial Sky Realm. In the past few days, the battle with the 7 heroes had made him understand a lot of things. He felt that the spiritual ether in his body was flowing more smoothly, and there were faint signs of another breakthrough. Only when I reach the Imperial Sky Realm can I truly walk proudly in this heaven realm, he said to himself. 2 rays of light flashed in his eyes, and his steps were extremely fast. Soon, he entered the depths of the old forest. In the old forest, birds were chirping, and it was a unique flavor. Lin Tianin smiled and walked faster. Listening to the birds, he looked for a place to hide in the old forest. But in the next moment, the birds suddenly stopped chirping, and everything was quiet. Lin Tian felt a chill down his spine, and he suddenly stopped. In front of him stood a man in black. His face was sharp, and his eyes were indifferent, as if he didn't care about anything. "Who is it?" Lin Tian said in a low voice. Staring at the man in black, he felt a great threat for the first time, as if he was facing the desolate demon physique of the demon clan. The man in black didn't answer. He took a step forward and said, "Please borrow something." "What do you want to borrow?" Lin Tian frowned. "Weapon control technique." The man in black was very direct. Lin Tian's eyes darkened slightly. "Not lending." After saying that, he turned and walked to the other side. With a swish, the man in black silently blocked in front of Lin Tian, and a gorgeous long blade suddenly appeared in his hand. Suddenly, a domineering blade will spread, forcing Lin Tianyi to retreat more than 5 meters. At this moment, a chill ran down his spine. The man in black looked to be about 21, but he was astonishingly strong. The sharp blade will made him feel that it was difficult to resist, as if he was facing a strong man at the peak of the Imperial Sky Realm. "You and I fight, and if I win, give me the weapon control technique," the man said with a posture of indifference. "Why?" Lin Tianling smiled. "You don't have a choice," the man in black said. Lin Tian's face was slightly cold, but he had to admit that he did have no other choice now, because the man in front of him was too terrifying. The man in black stared at Lin Tian and said, "I am at the 3rd level of the Imperial Sky Realm, but I won't take advantage of you." After saying that, the long blade in the man's hand shook again, and then the breath on his body suddenly decreased. In the blink of an eye, the fluctuations on the man's body weakened several times, which made Lin Tian frown. "The 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness," the man in black said. After saying that, the man didn't say anything more. His eyes were extremely sharp, and he slashed at Lin Tian. With a clang, the void directly cracked, and a big black crack appeared. Lin Tian's expression changed, and he quickly dodged, but he was still a little slow. His right shoulder was cut open, and blood immediately gushed out. So strong! He was secretly shocked. At this moment, he could feel that the man in black had indeed suppressed his cultivation to the 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness, which was the same level as him. However, the man's combat strength still shocked him. The power of that slash was not something that a cultivator in the 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness could do. Even an expert at the peak of the Imperial Sky Realm would not be able to do it. This was not referring to the pure power, but that the attack contained a kind of blade momentum, an extremely terrifying kind of blade momentum. That slash seemed to have sealed everything, disrupting his footsteps and greatly reducing his speed. The man in black's expression was cold. Without saying anything, he slashed again. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the blade swept through the sky. Before the blade light arrived, dozens of trees were immediately shattered into pieces. Lin Tian's expression changed. He moved his hands, supporting the barren heaven world and the divine roar palace, and pressed forward. Boom! The two collided, and the blade aura collapsed. The barren heaven world and the divine roar palace also shattered, disappearing into nothingness. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent. Knowing that there was no way to avoid it, he stepped forward and faced it directly. "Since you've already lowered your level, I'll do as you wish and beat you to the ground," he said coldly. In the Battle of the Yin and Yang Hua, he was extremely fast. In an instant, he appeared in front of the man in black and punched him directly. With a thump, the void trembled as if a sacred drum had been beaten. The man in black's expression did not change. He pointed his blade backward and punched forward. Bang! The two fists collided, and both of them retreated. Lin Tian felt pain in his right hand and could not help but feel a little surprised. On the path of cultivation, he used the 4 extreme scriptures to temper his body almost every day. His body was extremely strong, and few could resist it. But now, the man in black's body seemed to be no weaker than his. That iron fist seemed to be formed by a piece of diamond, indestructible. Opposite him, a strange light flashed in the man's eyes, but it quickly disappeared and was covered by indifference again. He unsheathed his long blade. His body was like a ghost, bringing up hurricanes. In an instant, he appeared in front of Lin Tian again. The long blade in his hand was merciless. He slashed at Lin Tian's chest, almost cutting the void open. Lin Tian retreated. An upper-tier true treasure sword appeared in his hand, and he used the 9 forms of the burning sun to meet the attack. With a clang, the blade and the sword collided. Strong winds swept out, shattering large pieces of old wood around them. The man in black shook his arm and attacked again. Vaguely, the blade trembled, and a buzzing sound was heard. Lin Tian held the upper-tier true treasure sword tightly. The power of fire surged, covering the entire sword as he slashed forward. Clang, clang, clang. The blade and the sword kept colliding. Strong winds raged, almost shattering the ground. With a poof, Lin Tian was hit in the abdomen. Immediately, blood flowed out. However, at the same time, he gritted his teeth, endured the pain, and rushed forward. He punched the man in black in the chest, sending him flying more than 15 meters away. Clang! 15 meters away, the sharp blade light rushed up. The man in black stood up. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but his expression did not change. With a swoosh, the man transformed into a divine blade. Overbearing blade chi intertwined and slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression changed. He slashed with the 8th sword of the burning sun. Then he formed a seal with both hands. He activated the 9-spring sword with the divining divine skill. He grasped it in his hand and slashed at the air. Boom! This was an astonishing collision. The old wood within a radius of several meters was instantly shattered, and the ground was full of cracks. Both of them were sent flying, blood gushing out of their mouths. After stabilizing himself, Lin Tian was even more shocked. Previously, when he fought with the 7 heroes of the Bai family, he felt that the 7 heroes were really strong. However, at this moment, when he compared the 7 heroes to the man in black, he suddenly felt that the 7 so-called heroes were simply dregs. The man in black was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, but his expression was still cold. He held the blade with one hand and raised it to the sky. Clang! Suddenly, dense blade shadows appeared and covered the surroundings. Every blade light seemed to have its own consciousness. Chapter 353. Lin Tian's expression changed. He immediately felt a huge pressure and even felt the threat of death. The sound of the saber became even more violent and terrifying. Lin Tian lowered his head and saw the ground shake. Broken sand rose into the sky inch by inch. This was a terrifying force. The man in black held the saber in one hand and pressed it down. Instantly, all the saber lights rushed toward him like lightning. Lin Tian was shocked. He stepped on the yin and yang road to dodge. However, the saber lights seemed to have their own consciousness. They followed him closely and even cut a crack in the space. Poof! There was a cut on his left arm, and he immediately felt an intense pain. Staring at the saber lights, he felt a special wave. It was definitely not a simple martial arts technique. This was a divine power. He quickly evaded and put away the supreme treasure sword. His hands formed an imprint, activating the desolate great mountain and the precious weapon Old Forest. After this, his hands became even heavier. A stone platform and a stone wall rushed out from behind him, suspending in the air. Boom! The moment the stone platform and stone wall appeared, a vast shock wave spread out, shattering the saber lights in the surroundings. The man in black was shocked, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. With a clang, the man unfolded the long saber in his hand. He closed in again, bringing the saber lights that filled the sky down. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. The stone platform and stone wall above his head propped up the four symbols Taoist diagram. He swung his upper-grade treasure sword again. Clang, clang, clang. The two collided. Saber against sword, saber light against divine elephant. Terrifying waves spread out again and again. In the process, the light of true essence sputtered. The two of them left bloody marks on each other's bodies from time to time, and left punches on each other's bodies from time to time. However, their auras became more and more vigorous. Waves of tyrannical waves surged out. In the old forest, many birds and beasts were frightened and fled in unison. At the same time, outside the old forest, cultivators passed by. They were all shocked and looked in this direction. What's happening there? It seems like someone is fighting. This is such a powerful wave. Let's go take a look. Let's go. Soon, someone walked into the depths of the old forest. Not long after, some people arrived. They stared at the two people's battle, and all of them revealed shocked expressions. It's that Lin Tian. There's another person. Who is that person? So strong. Why are these two fighting together? Everyone was shocked. Lin Tian and the black-clothed man were locked in battle. Naturally, they had sensed the arrival of the crowd. However, their expressions did not change in the slightest. Their battle intent burned brightly. Their blade and sword collided continuously. The violent battle intent swept out in all directions. Clang! The black-robed man shook his long saber, and the dense saber light scattered out like billions of birds flapping their wings. Due to the power of the blade, the surrounding space shook and distorted as though it would shatter at the very next moment. This caused the cultivators who had rushed over from afar to feel a chill in their hearts. This blade intent was simply too terrifying. It was practically capable of breaking through anything. On the stone platform and stone wall above Lin Tian's head, the two words Dao Run shone brightly, crushing everything. Buzz! The four symbols Dao diagram shook and annihilated all the saber light in the surroundings. In the next moment, the two of them charged together again. Their fists and feet collided, and their sabers and swords clashed. The ground shook involuntarily. His sword fell and slashed the black-clothed man's chest. However, at the same time, the black-clothed man's long saber also landed on his shoulder. If it were not for the divine elephant, his entire arm might have been cut off. However, their expressions did not change at all. On the contrary, their eyes became even brighter and more resplendent. Clang! Clang! The sound of saber and sword rang out at the same time. Their clothes were stained with blood, and blood gushed out of their mouths. However, they both charged at each other ferociously. Saber light and sword shadows intertwined. The divine elephant and the saber Tao theurgy collided. It was not until dozens of breaths later that the two of them stopped. After a short confrontation, the old forest was covered in cracks. There was not a single intact piece of land within a radius of 100 feet. So terrifying. These two people, they're both King freaks. Two monsters. In the distance, everyone was dumbfounded. Such terrifying combat power made everyone tremble in fear. It was too terrifying. Lin Tian panted heavily. His hand holding the long sword trembled slightly as he stared at the black-clothed man opposite him. Ever since he stepped onto the path of cultivation, he had always crushed those of the same level. Even if he fought with people who were 2 or 3 levels higher, he would not feel too much pressure. However, This black-clothed man had suppressed his cultivation to the same level as him, but it was so strenuous for him. After a round of confrontation, he was seriously injured several times and consumed half of his spiritual ether. Opposite him, the black-clothed man's mouth was bleeding, and his eyes were filled with shock. However, it was only for a moment. In the next moment, the shock in the man's eyes disappeared, and an even more terrifying aura rushed out. With a boom, the man's glabella shone brightly. Vaguely, a reddish-yellow land appeared. The land was filled with different sabers. There were broad sabers, long sabers, and broken sabers. Each saber emitted a terrifying chill. Lin Tian's expression changed. He felt pain all over his body. Spiritual sea phenomenon. He was shocked. The light from the black-clothed man's glabella supported a land of sabers. This was undoubtedly a spiritual sea phenomenon. At the same time, the cultivators who rushed over from afar also changed their expressions. They could not help but swallow their saliva. Clang, clang, clang. The sabers clanged. The black-clothed man stared at the land of sabers and walked over. Dense sabers rose from the ground, shining with a cold light. In the next moment, the dense sabers vibrated and attacked Lin Tian together. Lin Tian felt pain between his glabella and hurriedly retreated. Light shone from his glabella, and a lotus sea appeared. It was black and white, stirring yin and yang, and moved forward. Spiritual sea phenomenon. Yin-yang lotus sea. The black-clothed man was moved, but his eyes became colder. More sabers rushed up and slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's mind shook, and the yin-yang lotus sea shook. Dense lotus petals floated out and rushed forward. Clang! A crisp sound was heard. His lotus petals were blocked and could not be slashed out. At the same time, a saber descended from the sky and pressed down on him. Lin Tian's expression changed slightly, and he dodged quickly. As expected, his saber can block my yin-yang twin lotus even though we're both spiritual sea phenomenons. He muttered to himself. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the saber was ear-piercing. The spiritual sea phenomenon above the black-clothed man's head was like a land of sabers, slashing everything in its path. Lin Tian's eyes shone with a bright light, and his battle blood boiled. The yin-yang lotus sea faced it directly. Walala! The sea of lotuses swayed gently as black and white lotuses rose into the air. Each lotus petal was like a divine weapon. This, so strong. Black and white, yin and yang intertwined. That Lin Tian actually knows such methods. That black-clothed man has a saber mountain above his head. He's like a saber god. They seem to be at the 8th level of the spiritual sea now, but their combat strength, everyone was shocked. At this moment, even some of the powerful rogue cultivators at the 3rd level of the Zephyr realm couldn't help but be moved. Their hearts beat wildly, and a strong sense of powerlessness rose. These people felt that if they rushed over now, they would be killed instantly. What a monster! Some of the Zephyr realm powerhouses smiled bitterly. In front of them, the saber trembled, and the lotus sea was full of power. The two different spiritual sea phenomenons collided, and the space shook. Both of their eyes were cold, like sabers and swords, and they rushed together again. Clang, clang, clang. The spiritual sea phenomenons collided with each other, and the saber and sword in their hands were also constantly clashing. Cough! Lin Tian coughed up blood. His abdomen was pierced by a sharp saber light, and blood was flowing out. His eyes were cruel. He faced the saber light, and the long sword in his hand slashed down mercilessly. The black-clothed man blocked with his long sword, but Lin Tian's fist arrived at the same time, landing firmly on his chest. Crack! The sound of bones breaking was heard. The black-clothed man also coughed up blood, and his clothes were torn. However, their eyes became sharper and colder. Two waves of tyrannical true essence surged. In the blink of an eye, the two of them rushed together again, killing each other. In the blink of an eye, 15 minutes passed. Boom! True essence raged. The two figures collided, and then they were both sent flying. Lin Tian was covered in blood. His face was pale, and he was panting heavily. His true essence was almost exhausted, and the spiritual sea phenomenons were shattered. He could no longer hold on. On the other side, the black-clothed man was not much better. His clothes were torn, and his chest was dyed red with blood. It was obvious that his chest had caved in a little. His spiritual sea phenomenons had also dissipated. The two of them stared at each other, panting heavily. However, their eyes were sharper than a saber, sharper than a sword. Both of them are almost at their limits. Are they going to start the final battle now? It seems so. They only have the strength for one move. Many people swallowed their saliva and stared ahead, afraid to miss any details. A battle of this level was rare. It was almost comparable to a battle between young heavenly venerables. Lin Tian took a deep breath. The treasure sword in his right hand vibrated, and the sword light flashed. The black-clothed man moved his right leg backward and raised his long saber. The sound of a saber rang out. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of air breaking rang out. The two of them attacked together, rushing toward each other. The sword in Lin Tian's hand was surrounded by flames. The sword light soared as he used the ninth stroke of the burning sun. However, in the next moment, his expression changed. He withdrew his sword and quickly retreated. At the same time, the black-clothed man frowned and stopped in his tracks. Whoosh! 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 Almost at the same time, dozens of sharp arrows rushed from not far away, heading straight for Lin Tian's limbs. Lin Tian's eyes were cold, but his speed was extremely fast. He narrowly avoided the arrows. Your spiritual sense is really good, a mocking voice rang out. Dozens of figures walked out from not far away. The leader was a young man in fine clothes. He was extremely handsome and had a strong aura. Shun Qinyu. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. He recognized the young man in fine clothes. He was the one who had gambled alchemy skills with him at Wuji Gate not long ago. In the distance, the cultivators also recognized the group of people. They were all shocked. They seemed to be from the Shun family. The Shun family? The Shun family, one of the three major alchemist families? Yes, someone whispered. Chapter 354. Staring at Shun Qinyu's group, Lin Tian's face was gloomy. He didn't expect that the Shun family would chase him all the way here. He naturally knew the purpose of the Shun family. Fortunately, I came here to take a look. Otherwise, I would have missed the best opportunity to suppress and capture you. Shun Qinyu sneered. Behind Shun Qinyu, dozens of people looked gloomy. They were all outstanding members of the younger generation of the Shun family. The Shun family is also chasing Lin Tian. Strange why? Is it also for that weapon control technique? Many people whispered. Lin Tianwei's face was gloomy. He clenched the sword in his hand even tighter. After the battle with the black-clothed man, his current situation was very bad. His Zhenyuan was less than 10%. The Shin family's arrival at this time made him feel a great sense of danger. However, he didn't show any worry on his face. I have already killed the 7 heroes of the Bai family. How dare a group of trash like you appear in front of me? Are you looking for death? He said. Shun Qinyu snorted coldly. Don't pretend to be strong. You are very strong, but how much combat power do you have at your peak? Do you think you can stop us? Shun Qinyu smiled and said, however, this young master has always been cautious. Shun Qinyu looked at the black-clothed man on the side and said with a smile, Your Excellency must have something to do with him. Why don't we cooperate? After we capture him, you can take what you want from him first, and then hand him over to the Shin family. Lin Tian's fierce reputation has spread throughout the second heaven. He even killed the 7 heroes of the Bai family. Although he looked very embarrassed now. After all, a skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. Although Shun Qinyu is proud of himself, he still seemed to be a little cautious at this time. He saw the black-clothed man fighting with Lin Tianyi. Although he didn't know the origin of the other party, since he can fight with Lin Tianyi until now, his combat power is naturally not weak. Therefore, He wanted to use the black-clothed man to force Lin Tian into a desperate situation. He believed that as long as the black-clothed man nodded, they could easily suppress Lin Tian in half an hour. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed as a wisp of coldness flashed within them. This Shun Qinyu's thoughts were rather meticulous at this moment. The black-clothed man stared at Lin Tian, the long blade in his hand glowing with a cold light. There was blood on the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were indifferent. That black-clothed young man is not the slightest bit weaker than Lin Tian. From the situation just now, it would be difficult to determine the victor if the two of them fought normally. However, at this moment, if that black-clothed young man joins forces with the Qin clan, he will definitely win. Lin Tian will definitely be finished. That madman seems to be in trouble, many people whispered. Shun Qinyu smiled and looked at the black-clothed man. Your Excellency, what do you think? Don't worry, my Shin family has a good reputation. After we suppress him, we will let you find what you want, and then I will take him away. The black-clothed man looked at Lin Tian. His eyes were still indifferent, and he didn't respond. Shun Qinyu frowned slightly. Your Excellency, my words, you clang. A saber light slashed over, and Shun Qinyu's expression changed greatly. He quickly took out a supreme treasure sword and slashed down. With a boom, the blade was shattered. Shun Qinyu staggered back, and a trace of bright red appeared at the corner of his mouth. What do you mean? Staring at the black-clothed man, Shun Qinyu was shocked and angry. His face was cold. The black-clothed man didn't even look at Shun Qinyu. His expression didn't change from beginning to end. He stared coldly at Lin Tian. Don't die. After saying this, the black-clothed man turned and walked away. He rejected the Shun family? This is such a good opportunity. Why did the black-clothed man fight with Lin Tian? I don't know. Strange. Many people were surprised. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. He looked deeply at the black-clothed man's back. Although this man was cold and domineering, he was open and above board. Tilting his head, he looked towards Shun Qinyu as his eyes narrowed slightly. From the looks of it, the black-clothed man's yuan energy was almost completely depleted. Otherwise, how could a second-rate person like Shun Qinyu possibly receive that blade strike from before? Time ago, he whispered in his heart. He didn't hesitate. Then, he quickly flashed into the distance. Now his vital essence was almost depleted. It would be very dangerous to face the Shun family directly. Young Master Shun, he escaped. Someone shouted. Shun Qinyu was shocked. He glanced coldly at the black-clothed man's back. He didn't have time to seek revenge. He shouted, "Go after him!" Immediately, the sound of air being torn apart resounded. The Shin clan's people all charged out and chased after Lin Tian. Don't even think about escaping, the Shun family shouted. Lin Tian's face was dignified. He quickened his pace and escaped. Normally, he wouldn't put these Shun family disciples in his eyes. No matter how many came, he would kill them all. But now he couldn't. After the fight with the black-clothed man, he was seriously injured. His vital essence was almost depleted, and his combat power was less than 10% of his heyday. Under such circumstances, facing dozens of cultivators in the Sea of Consciousness realm was undoubtedly a difficult situation. Clang! A sword light slashed and fell at his feet. The people from the Shin clan quickly caught up. Someone activated his alchemic fire. Even though it was only the lowest grade of yellow, when more than 10 people gathered together, the attack power was still very fierce. The scorching temperature caused the air to sizzle. With a buzz, one of them brandished a long spear and pierced Lin Tian's neck. Lin Tian dodged. He grabbed the long spear with his left hand and punched with his right hand. You puff! Although he was seriously injured, his strong physique didn't weaken much. Ordinary people couldn't resist it at all. Be careful. His physique is strong. Don't get close. Shun Qinyu shouted. Shun Qinyu wasn't the strongest person in this generation of the Shun family, but his status was extraordinary. At this moment, he stood at the outermost circle and gave orders. Lin Tianlong coldly glanced at Shun Qinyu. He waved the long spear in his hand, shook off a piece of alchemy fire, and rushed into the distance again. Today, You are doomed to die. Yu sneered. With this order, the Shun clan's members sped up, forming an encirclement as they chased after Lin Tian. The sword light was dense, and the yellow alchemy fire was surging, cutting off Lin Tian's escape route. Whoosh! 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 In the distance, someone pulled a bow, and a black arrow flew toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian shook the long spear and threw it directly into the distance. With his strong physique, the long spear shook off the arrow and pierced into the body of a Shun family member. After that, Lin Tian didn't stop. He rushed into the distance again. You can't escape, Yu said coldly. Whoosh! 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 Dense arrows came again, and at the same time, powerful martial arts techniques fell. Lin Tian's face changed. He didn't have enough genuine essence, so he could only roll on the ground to avoid the arrows. Then he hit the light of the martial arts techniques that swept toward him. Boom! He forcibly activated the Nirvana Fist and punched another member of the Shun family to death. However, he was also swept by the light of the martial arts techniques that came from the corner. Suddenly, there were a few more bloody wounds on his body. At this moment, the Shun family had completely surrounded him. Shouts and the sound of precious weapons echoed. The crowd rushed forward together. Alchemy flames vibrated, and sword lights intertwined. Lin Tian grabbed a sword from a person and swung it, sending 3 members of the Shun family flying. However, at the same time, another Shun family member's long spear pierced his abdomen. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he would have been pierced through by this attack. Even so, this attack still made him feel very uncomfortable. His face was cold. He held the long spear and cut off the head of the spear-wielding person. I didn't expect to be forced to this point by a group of trash, he said coldly to himself. After cutting off the spear-wielding person, he didn't hesitate and fled into the depths of the old forest again. Although he was a little sullen at this moment, he was very clear that he couldn't stay and fight. Otherwise, he would die. In the next 4 hours, Lin Tian fled. With his thin, genuine essence and severely injured body, he killed more than 10 members of the Shin family. However, he also had more wounds on his body. He looked even more miserable. You're really stubborn. Let's see how long you can run. Yu sneered. The members of the Shun family surrounded him. They were all excited, and their eyes were shining. At this moment, Lin Tian was at the end of his rope. They could definitely take him down. Once they took Lin Tian back to the family, it would be a great achievement. Lin Tian was covered in blood. He stepped back, and his eyes were as cold as knives. If I don't die today, your Shin family will never have a day of peace, he said coldly. Looking at Lin Tian's eyes, Yu couldn't help but tremble. He suddenly thought of all the things that the Bai family had been through. For a moment, he felt a chill run down his spine. However, this was only for a moment. The next moment, Yu returned to normal. He stared coldly at Lin Tian. Do you think you can escape today? I'll tell you the truth. The Airborne Realm members of the Shin family are already on their way here. There is no way you can escape. Lin Tian's eyes were cold, and he immediately ran away. Soon, another 2 hours passed. Within 2 hours, Lin Tian had once again killed several members of the Shun family despite his heavy injuries. He himself had suffered a few more heavy blows, and his entire body was drenched in blood. Even his hair had been dyed red by the blood. It was also at this time that a strong wave of spiritual ether descended from the sky. A middle-aged man in a yellow robe descended from the sky. 6th uncle, Yu said happily. The Airborne Realm member of the Shun family had arrived. His entire body was surrounded by an amazing aura of pills. He was a powerful grade 4 alchemist. Looking around, the middle-aged man in the yellow robe had a flash of light in his eyes. He nodded at Yu and said, "Well done." As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged man in the yellow robe turned his head and stared at Lin Tian. "Come back with me, and you won't have to suffer any physical pain. When we get the art of alchemy that we want, we'll give you a quick death and hand your head to the Bai family." The middle-aged man said coldly. Lin Tian's heart was heavy, but his expression did not change. There was even a hint of sarcasm in his eyes. If you kill me after getting the art of alchemy from me, you won't have to worry about the art of alchemy falling into the hands of others. You can also give my head to the Bai family in exchange for a huge favor from the ancient family. Yushin family sure know how to scheme. The middle-aged man in the yellow robe snorted coldly and did not say anything else. He directly stepped towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian gritted his teeth. His current situation was very bad, and there was no way he could stop the airborne realm member. Without hesitation, he stepped on the ground and directly fled into the distance. You still want to run? The middle-aged man in the yellow robe waved his hand and directly slapped out a huge handprint. Lin Tian's expression changed. He gritted his teeth and resisted, but he was immediately thrown more than 15 meters away. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The middle-aged man in the yellow robe walked forward and said indifferently, "The end is already decided. Why struggle and make trouble for yourself?" Lin Tian struggled to stand up. He only felt that his internal organs had shifted positions, and the pain was unbearable. However, he forced himself to endure it. He supported his severely injured body and once again fled into the distance. Humph! A hint of sarcasm flashed in the eyes of the middle-aged man in the yellow robe. He stretched out his hand and directly grabbed Lin Tian. Vigorous spiritual ether surged. This palm completely covered Lin Tian on the spot. "Hey, this is over." Ha ha! Everyone in the Shin family laughed. At this time, they looked at Lin Tian as if they were looking at a divine treasure of their family, or as if they were looking at a dead body. Lin Tian's expression changed, and his back became cold. Now that he was severely injured and his spiritual ether was almost depleted, he was unable to fight at all. Damn it! He gritted his teeth. At this moment, a fierce palm wind fell from the sky, and with a bang, the middle-aged man in the yellow robe was blasted more than 30 meters away. A figure shrouded in a black cloak appeared and fell from the sky, firmly blocking in front of Lin Tian. "Go!" A low voice came from the cloak. Lin Tian's expression suddenly changed. He recognized this familiar voice. It was the Wuji Peak Master. In a chapter. Chapter 355. Everyone from the Shun family was shocked. They never thought that such an unforeseen event would occur at such a time. "Who's there?" The middle-aged man in the yellow shirt walked back. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked gloomy. Under the cloak, the master of the Wuji Peak didn't respond. He whispered to Lin Tian, "The sect leader asked me to apologize to you. He hopes you can live on. Let's go." Lin Tian frowned and clenched his fists slightly. "Thank you," he said seriously. Enduring the pain, he got up and ran away. The middle-aged man in the yellow shirt raised his eyebrows and said, "You want to leave? Stop him." Suddenly, the disciples of the Shun family chased after Lin Tian. Clang! The master of the Wuji Peak made his move. He split the ground with his sword, and a 30-meter-long sword mark appeared in front of the Shin family. Such a terrifying sword made everyone in the Shin family turn pale. They stopped in their tracks. "Who are you? Why are you an enemy of the Shin family?" The middle-aged man in the yellow shirt said in a low voice. With a simple sword, the middle-aged man in the yellow shirt could see how powerful the man under the cloak was. He was far from being able to defeat him. The master of the Wuji Peak didn't say anything. He just stood in front of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man in the yellow shirt wanted to go around and chase after Lin Tian. Unfortunately, he was powerless. "Sir, you are an enemy of the Shun family," the middle-aged man in the yellow shirt said in a low voice. The master of the Wuji Peak didn't say anything. He still stood in the same place. With a sword in his hand, he shocked everyone in the Shun family. Lin Tian had walked far away. Soon he found an absolutely secluded place. He took out some elixirs from the stone ring and put them in his mouth. Then he started to heal his injured body. This time, "I am really indebted to the master of the Wuji sect," he said to himself. He knew very well that if the master of the Wuji Peak hadn't arrived, he would have been taken away by the middle-aged man in the yellow shirt. The only ending was death. When he thought of the middle-aged man in the yellow shirt, he thought of the Shun family. His eyes suddenly became cold. Taking a deep breath, he circulated the four extremities meridians with all his might to dissolve the Baodan in his body. His injuries were quickly alleviated. Enter the ninth layer first, then enter the Zephyr step. He muttered to himself. A bright light flashed in his eyes as he calmed down and circulated the four extreme scriptures over and over again. That was the supreme, body-tempering divine art of the mysterious iron sword. It was also a manual for cultivation, which was enough to support him all the way to the end of the airborne realm. At this moment, he swallowed a Baodan and circulated his four extremities meridians, rapidly nourishing his internal organs. Very quickly, 6 hours passed. 6 hours later, with the help of some Baodan in the stone ring, his injuries were completely healed. His spirit had also become stronger. At this time, the sky had already darkened. Lin Tian looked outside, quietly stood up, and left in the dark night. Although the master of Wuji Peak had stopped the Shen family, he couldn't stop them forever. He had stayed in this forest for a long time. Now that his injuries had recovered, it was better to move to another place for safety. In the dark night, the moonlight shrouded the earth, sprinkling a large area of silver light. Not long after Lin Tian left, there were warriors from the Shun family who found this place. The leader was at the 7th layer of the Zephyr step. There are traces of someone here. It seems that he just left. It should be that person. Go after him. We must find him, the leader said. Suddenly, a group of warriors rushed behind him and quickly flashed in the old forest. At this time, Lin Tian had already gone far away and walked out of the old forest. He carried the black robe on his back and made his way through the night. He climbed over several tall mountains, and soon after, he appeared in another old forest and found another hidden place. He carefully looked around until he was sure that nothing was out of place. Only then did he sit down quietly. He took out the shackling rune and pasted it on his brow. With the full moon in the sky, he circulated the four extremities meridians and directly immersed himself in cultivation. Boom! Faint silver light flickered. In his sea of consciousness, the power of his consciousness boiled bit by bit, as if there was a fire burning. The sea of consciousness was to refine one's consciousness. Only by refining one's consciousness to a certain degree of purity and producing a qualitative change could one enter the Zephyr step. Under the night sky, Lin Tian held his breath and focused, wholeheartedly refining his divine sense. In these past few days, he'd experienced many battles, and he'd gained a great deal of comprehension. Especially the battle with the black-clothed man. It caused him to have a rather deep feeling. Because of the many experiences, his essence, energy, and spirit had unknowingly strengthened a lot. The flow of his true essence was also smoother. In this situation, his cultivation level began to loosen up. This situation was most suitable for cultivation. The silver light intertwined outside. In his sea of consciousness, the yin-yang twin lotus swayed, releasing a little bit of light. This light intertwined in his sea of consciousness and actually guided the power in his body, helping him to refine his consciousness. Following that, the light outside his body became more condensed. At most half a month, I can enter the 9th layer of the sea of consciousness and enter the Zephyr step with the Zephyr pill. Lin Tian's eyes flashed. Taking a deep breath, he put away the light in his eyes and once again immersed himself in cultivation. The light lingered outside his body, gradually becoming brighter, and the aura he exuded gradually became stronger. It was as if a wisp of flame was gradually turning into a sea of fire. In the second heaven, the young cultivators of the Shun family secretly searched for Lin Tian's traces, rummaging through various mountains. They even invited many experts to help, but it was still difficult to find Lin Tian's real body. At the same time, many powerhouses of the Bai family also came out to search for Lin Tian's traces. In such a large heaven, if that person really wants to hide, how can it be easy to find him? Yes. However, Lin Tian's current situation is really dangerous. Nonsense, basically, the whole world is an enemy. It's scary just thinking about it. Many cultivators were discussing. The second heaven is very large, and the Bai family and the Shun family also know that it is like looking for a needle in a haystack to find a person in this heaven. However, even so, the people of the two families still did not give up, especially the people of the Bai family. Each of them had a shocking killing intent, causing some rogue cultivators to tremble when looking at them from a distance. Time passed, and soon 10 days passed. During these 10 days, the Bai family and the Shin family searched many places and found traces of Lin Tian several times, but they still couldn't find him. In the end, the Bai family's younger generation even released their voices in the world of cultivation, cursing Lin Tian for being a coward who only knew how to hole up like a turtle, not daring to openly roam the world, forcing Lin Tian to appear. Unfortunately, there was no result. As for the Shun family, they didn't find anything. In the second heaven, Lin Tian walked through another mountain, found a cave, and sat down cross-legged in it. During these 10 days, he changed several secluded places, and every time, he narrowly avoided the people who were looking for him. When I step into the airborne realm, I will deal with you one by one, he said coldly. The 4 extreme scripture was activated, and a divine refining rune was applied, and his consciousness began to boil. Now, he had reached the peak of the 8th heavenly layer, and he was only one step away from the 9th heavenly layer. He calmed down and silently activated the 4 extreme scripture, focusing all his attention on the sea of consciousness, making his consciousness boil even more. Looking around, this sea of consciousness became wider, and his consciousness became purer, like the brilliance of the sun and the moon. Soon, 3 days passed. Boom! On this day, a tyrannical aura spread out and rushed out from Lin Tian's body. Opening his eyes, Lin Tian exhaled heavily. After 13 days of hard work, he finally stepped into the 9th heavenly layer. Let's begin the last step. His eyes flashed. Taking a deep breath, he took out a thumb-sized baodan from the stone ring. This baodan was purple and crystal clear. It was the 4th-grade airborne pill that he and Bai Qiu obtained in the ancient alchemist's tomb more than a month ago. This baodan was extremely precious. After swallowing it, a cultivator could perfectly reach the airborne realm from the 9th heavenly layer. The 4 extreme scripture stabilized the cultivation of the 9th heavenly layer, making the spiritual ether more peaceful. Then, he swallowed the airborne pill. As soon as the airborne pill entered his mouth, a rich fragrance spread out. Lin Tianji felt a warm air spread in his body, and then this warm air directly penetrated his sea of consciousness like a hot spring. Suddenly, a huge storm appeared in his calm sea of consciousness, and his spiritual ether began to boil crazily. The 4th-grade airborne pill was a type of baodan. It was the strongest baodan to temper one's spiritual ether. Now, after Lin Tian swallowed this baodan, the spiritual ether in his sea of consciousness became active, like boiling water, jumping around. Gradually, his spiritual ether became stronger and stronger and purer. Huff! Lin Tian closed his eyes and exhaled white smoke from his mouth, like a celestial being. Time passed by minute. After swallowing the airborne pill, the treasure chi in the pill penetrated his sea of consciousness, making his spiritual ether feel like it was burning above a fire source, and it became pure little by little. Moreover, during this entire process, Lin Tian's internal organs, bones, flesh, and blood had become translucent. Strands of warm energy flowed through them, causing his flesh, blood, and internal organs to become even stronger. The airborne pill not only refined the spiritual ether, but also helped to temper the body. Very quickly, another 2 days passed. 2 days later, Lin Tian's spiritual ether finally became completely pure, and his sea of consciousness became calm again. The yin-yang twin lotus swayed slightly in his sea of consciousness. After this, Lin Tian's heart suddenly trembled, and he felt as if a door had burst open in his body. A vast and majestic power gushed out, instantly spreading throughout his body and flowing to every corner. Lin Tian opened his eyes, and there was a flash of light in them. He slowly stood up. He clenched his fists slightly, and his 5 fingers cracked. His physique became several times stronger, and it seemed to be harder than King Kong. His spiritual ether vibrated, and there was a faint sound of wind and thunder coming from his body. His spiritual ether was boiling like the yellow river. His glabella lit up with a thought, and the tyrannical spiritual ether seemed to be about to rush out like a sharp sword. Finally, Lin Tian took a deep breath and raised his hands slightly. His feet slowly left the ground, and he slowly rose into the air. He hovered in the air, and it took him dozens of breaths to truly master flying in the air, reaching a height of 150 feet above the ground. This is the airborne realm. He clenched his fists. In half a month's time, he relied on the airborne pill to reach the airborne realm. At this moment, he felt that he was more than 10 times stronger than he was half a month ago. His physique was more solid, and his spiritual ether was more abundant. It was as if he had endless strength. Most importantly, at this moment, he stood in the air on his own, and he truly felt as if he had transcended the mortal world. Lin Tian's eyes flashed with excitement, and then there was a flash of coldness in them. "It's time to go mess with someone," he said coldly. He tilted his head and looked out of the old forest. The corner of his mouth lifted, and he stepped into the air, walking out of the old forest step by step. Boom! At this moment, the sky shook, and there was a sudden clap of thunder. Lin Tian felt a chill run down his spine for no reason. It was as if he was being stared at by a pair of invisible eyes, and his entire body was cold. He looked up at the sky. He did not know when, but the sky within a radius of 300 feet had become pitch black. Dark clouds gathered, forming a huge vortex. Lightning flashed and crackled in the middle. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.